Hello everybody and welcome to the third annual RDL Draft Review. And this season, I have something very special for you. I am joined by my partners in crime for the first, and hopefully not the last, Hacks Pack podcast. Well, it's more like three Pokemon idiots shooting the shit about Mons than an actual podcast, but let's make it sound just a little bit professional. First up, we have the Master of Disaster, Stealer of States, the Lord of Hacks himself, Tommy. We also have the honour, the privilege to be joined by the reigning, defending, undisputed RDL Coach of the Year. It's Jal. Now, strap yourselves in, because this is probably going to be a long and winding road. If you want to skip to a certain team, there will be timestamps in the description below. But let's get on with the waffle. Start with the Virginia Beach Buizels, coached by Weens. The single bulkiest team I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, this team is insane. I mean, it's weird, but it's cool. I like it. There's a lot of pieces here I quite like. It's just a bit jumbled and a bit it's different.
Yeah.
It's not your standard draft team.
No. It's got some Yeah. It's got some very scary pieces, but like, how do they all fit together?
Yeah, you could kind of see the sort of, I guess, balance, bulky setup you can go for, especially with a Hitmon top, which is like a cheap Incineroar, really.
Yeah, and then you've got Meowstic with the prankster screens and all those sorts of shenanigans.
Yeah, I think it's quite a good mon, actually, that Meowstic. For the toolkit that it has, it's quite low on points.
Yeah, I mean,
I know its stats aren't the best, but
its stats aren't the best.
So many tools.
Yeah, it does get Thunderwave. The thing that drew me to it was Yawn and Fake Tears.
Yeah, Prankster Yawn's pretty nice, and Fake Tears is just a really solid move to have, especially with the sort of lack of damage output that he sort of has.
Yeah, so it is, and I think that's my issue with it.
I do think it's a good team. I really like the bulkiness on it. I don't use it personally, but I'm pretty fond of Executor Alola, and I think in our previous attempt of recording this, I did mention how I do like Chandelure as a real nice, fairly quick and speedy, very powerful special attacker. And then I still stand by my point that I really, really like Electivire, especially if you can use him as like a Tera captain, kind of just drop a different typing on him that'll be fairly resistant to like the obvious ground. But a little bulk up, like I said, the punching glove, and then just throw in X kind of factor punch move. And even then, even with the Porygon 2, you don't need like any kind of speed investment. You maybe just invest a little bit in defense, special defense, max out special attack. I'm sorry, maxed out attack, physical attack, and then you use your Porygon 2 as a trick room setter. I mean, you got plenty of things to do with that, but
yeah,
still a very huge fan of Electivire.
Now I'm looking at it again. I don't think it's as bad as I initially thought. I'm like you. I love Chandelure. I think Chandelure is an amazing, very, very underrated Pokemon. It's fast enough to where if you do get up a Tailwind with Corviknight, it can capitalize on that Tailwind.
Yeah.
It's slow enough that if you do want to go Trick Room, it'll be underspeeding or outspeeding a lot of things in Trick Room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the reliance on Trick Room is what I don't like about this team. It's very one-dimensional in that regard, and it doesn't have the immediate damage output to actually scare things off. So it's like, yes, having all that bulk, on in something like a Ting-Lu or an Electivire is absolutely, well, Electivire is a bad example because it's probably the most offensive mon on the team. Having all that bulk on a Ting-Lu, on a Corviknight is amazing, but if they are the obvious setup mon, like you lead in Meowstic plus Corviknight, the opposition can just completely ignore the Meowstic and just double into the Corviknight and KO it. So you've got to lead in a very specific manner. You've got to manage your board states really, really well with it, which takes a lot of brain power.
Yeah.
Leaves you prone to making mistakes. So, yes, it's a good team, and I do like it on paper. But when you think about it in terms of draft, where your opponent gets a week to prep for your team and to come up with a game plan, it needs that immediate offense to where you can just burst something down if you need to. This team just doesn't have it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this team is, like we said, a lot of bulk, but at the same time, it is something that's going to be requiring some kind of setting up. And I think if you're doing Trick Room, if you're using Meowstic and trying to do light and reflect screens, combined with bulk up, you're definitely looking at something, and then on top of that, a Tailwind, or vice versa or whatnot. It's a lot of setup that I don't know, unless you're heavily defensive on your Mons and your EV setup. It takes some time, and I don't know if time is what this team has.
If you don't prep for this team correctly, and it does get a bulk up off, or a nasty plot or whatever, Calm Mind on Alola Executor, if it gets one or two of those off, this team will get out of hand and completely destroy you.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the scary part is the setup, because if the setup gets set up,
it's
not
got
all teams can maximize, but
it's got so much natural bulk that it will go crazy if you do let it get set up.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, from my side, because I love bulky Pokemon, this is like a team that I would quite enjoy to use personally. I think Ting-Lu kind of stands out for me as like the best mon on the team. I just think, especially in draft, it's just so difficult to remove. And I do quite like the value that he got with mons like Duosion. I know you're not the biggest fan of Arachnoid, Matt, but I think it's quite a good mon.
It just doesn't, for me,
it's decent.
It's not, outside of a water move, it's not.
Yeah, I suppose it is kind of limited to the water attacks though.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see how he does with it this season, because it's not a mon I've really seen that much of. I really like the Corviknight as well as a Tailwind setter, and just as an all-round pretty it's got a good iron defense body press. And he's got good redirection as well with the Electivire, which I quite like. Although I think he's traded that away now, hasn't he?
He did drop it. So he traded
Whoa.
away Exeggutor, Duosion, Electivire, and Corviknight, and picked up Arboliva, Pachirisu, and Metagross.
Whoa!
That's quite a big switch up, actually.
Yeah, that's a fucking whole ass trade off, man. That's
So
half his damn roster.
To be honest with you, I don't think that makes much of a difference to the team at all. If anything, for me, that makes it worse. For me, I think those trades make the team worse, personally.
Yeah, I actually do.
They make it
with you.
even more dependent on Trick Room.
Yeah.
I personally think
he's got priority now with Metagross, but
priority Bullet Punch. That's it.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm a little bit confused by the trades, but
Metagross does give him more
nice.
immediate damage, but I wouldn't have dropped Exeggutor.
I quite like the Corviknight on this team. I thought the Corviknight behind screens and everything else that he's got going on here was really good.
And I thought having the Tailwind option into other Trick Room teams was a good thing as well, because
I agree.
As I found out when I was trying to teach myself how to play Trick Room, in a Trick Room versus Trick Room matchup, you want to be the faster team, and you want to stop them getting up Trick Room and then outspeed them out of Trick Room. So in this case, Corviknight having access to Taunt, having access to Tailwind, make it the perfect mon on this team to counter other Trick Room.
Yeah, I'm also not too sure what Arboliva does. I can't say I've ever used it myself. I know it obviously
I've never
gets
used
harvest and stuff, but
I've never used it either. But
I don't really know what the thought of it is.
I'd have thought that having Exeggutor, but they've got the same special attack. Arboliva's a little bulkier, a little slower.
Extremely slow. 39 speed.
Yeah. They both get harvest. I think Frisk on Exeggutor is...
I think it's quite good in draft, really.
It's good in draft. Seed Sower relies on you getting hit by a physical move to set up grassy terrain. The grassy terrain is nice for this team, with it being so bulky and difficult to remove. But
yeah, I can't say I'm convinced by the trades.
No, me either. Because
I was thinking kind of a B sort of thing for Weens, maybe. But I think with the trades, I'd probably say either low B or high C, maybe now.
I'd say
I don't see.
I'd say at the moment it's a low B.
Yeah,
but that's, you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of bulk without offense. And for me, this is a lot of bulk and not enough offense. It requires too much setup to get going.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a good team. I like it on paper, but when you dig into the stats,
that's what it is. Yeah, I really like the look of the team, but then like when you actually sort of dig into it a bit more, there is a lot that it relies on to kind of get going.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's just, I think a lot of the time he might get overwhelmed at the start of games where he needs those few turns.
Absolutely.
And I think he could find himself just too far behind by the time that he has set up.
Yeah, if you can get the setup off, you know,
it's a hard team to crack.
Yeah,
once he gets it going, but yeah, it's just whether he can.
You get one bulk up off on Electivire, and it's going to be a nightmare to remove, especially with Tera. You get an iron defense set up on Corviknight, and it's going to be hard to remove.
Well, even like Ting Lu behind screens, I mean, how do you remove that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's a lot going on here for that sort of bulky, annoying play style.
Yeah, which is definitely more your thing than mine, So we are going to be very split on that.
Yeah.
So for you, this is probably
I
on
kind
that.
of agree with where you're ranking it, though. I think my gut was B. I would have probably gone slightly higher B, but I do think a few of your points are right about the sort of
I honestly think
it needs. So I do think low B would be a fair.
Looking at this now, I honestly think all he needs to do is change that Araquanid. If he changes that Araquanid to something with a bit more immediate offense that wasn't so reliant on one type, because you stick a Vaporeon in front of Araquanid, and it does nothing because Water Bubble doesn't boost its bug type moves or anything like that. Yes, you can't burn it, but
I suppose you don't need to if you're resisting the water attacks anyway.
Exactly. It makes it harder to remove because it also, I believe, halves fire damage, which is neutral into it because of the bug typing. But
I think where we've got it is probably right. I think this is a sort of mid-tier team.
Yeah.
I think my final point on it is just I think that this is one of the teams though that I am the most excited to watch throughout the season.
Yes,
just definitely. Because there's so many mons here that I just have never seen used before.
Absolutely, and
so I'm really looking forward to just seeing what Weens can do with it.
Yeah, you've got to applaud Weens for that, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I do like the fact that he's kind of just gone for a bit more of a unique approach to things, and hasn't just gone for the meta choices that were available.
And he has shown last season that he's a damn good team builder. So
yeah, I have no doubts that he will get this team cooking probably all season, and
absolutely
I would be shocked if he doesn't make the playoffs with it.
Yeah, definitely. Just his skill as a player alone will make this team very difficult to beat. The newly minted Dhelmise.
Who would like to start on this team?
Well, I like Scrafty. Scrafty, I don't like the speed on it, but if you're using this team as another kind of like trick room setting base, you have like an Archaludon, Scrafty, and Sylveon kind of like base, and then I don't know who, I guess Sylveon might be the one who potentially has a trick room.
Does Klefki get trick room?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then so I see like a trick room setting kind of base, and then potentially like just a team that might have just like an absolute like just tailwind kind of speed boosting crew with the Urshifu, Dodrio, Sceptile, Raichu. Maybe?
I have is the tailwind setter just isn't very good.
The tailwind setter isn't very good, in my opinion. You're absolutely correct on that.
I think the Urshifu in tailwind is obviously very good, like you said, Chair. But I'm just I don't see how he can consistently get tailwind up.
I mean, does Dodrio get tailwind?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, Dodrio gets tailwind.
Okay. So that I would, it's just, so I'll say this as a whole. Without knowing exactly what he's going for, I see Trick Room, and then I see Tailwind Team. And it's kind of split down the middle, and that's it. But it's like, which mons are going into which group, period.
It's a rain team.
Yeah.
Klefki gets
the problem with the rain team is he hasn't got a very good rain set.
Yes.
I mean, yes, Klefki can do prankster rain, but I'm not sold on that personally.
Yeah, so
I don't think it's that good on the rain team.
I agree that it's potentially a wind setter. I'm sorry, a rain setter. Or a rain team. But the issue is, yes, there are no rain setters. So that's my big issue with it.
I think the Klefki's just not enough.
Yeah.
To sort of fall back on.
I think into some teams, Klefki will be a perfectly fine rain support mon. The issue is when you run into teams that are prepped for a Scarf Urshifu, prepped for, you know, being able to outspeed a Sylveon or those types of teams where they can fake out the Klefki and then smash it in the face with a fire move and just completely get it off the board before it's even able to set up the rain. Or they've got their own weather setter to reverse it, and then you know, Klefki completely screwed.
Yeah. My main issue with Klefki is like mons like Pelipper and Tornadus. They can set the rain and then give the speed control to you as well, whereas I know Klefki gets Thunderwave, but that's not as sort of efficient or consistent as a Tailwind or like an Icy Wind.
I've tried using like Prankster T-Wave as speed control. I tried it last season with Sableye, and it just doesn't work. It's not consistent enough.
Yeah, I had the same issues with Thunderous, where it's just there's a lot of ways to sort of get around it, and it's not as much control as when you've got your Tailwind setter like a Torn or even Pelipper.
Or a Trick Room setter, you know, if you've got, I mean, he can do that. He can quite easily go bulky as hell Klefki, set Trick Room first, and then set the rain. But then your best rain sweepers is Urshifu Rapid Strike. It doesn't want to be in Trick Room. Yes, Archaludon's fairly slow and can, you know, quite happily sit there in Trick Room. I also don't fully understand where Sceptile comes into it with Unburden. Yes, there's different ways of proccing Unburden, but one of the biggest reasons to use Sceptile is Shed Tail. So but if you're proccing Unburden and then you Shed Tail out, you're losing your Unburden. You've got to be very specific in how you're proccing that Unburden, because you want to Shed Tail out to bring, say, Urshifu in behind a sub.
Yeah.
And then bring Sceptile in afterwards, proc the Unburden, and go nuts with it.
I think it's quite a cool one to have, but I don't know where it necessarily fits on this team. But on a positive note, I will say that the fact that you've got screens plus Archaludon's really nice.
There's a lot of things to love about this team, I have to say.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, Otter showed last season that Sylveon can be just a menace if it's not prepped for properly.
Yeah.
And same with Urshifu, really. Yes, there are some good ways to counter it, but if he manages to get rid of an Urshifu counter, then he could easily sweep half the teams in the league with that. Because it's just that good. And he's got a lot of the sort of tools that I look for when I'm drafting, of like fake outs or follow me on the Magmar.
Yeah.
Magmar's obviously got Intimidate and fake out.
Yeah. Magmar's a brilliant redirection mon with that flame body.
Yeah, I really like redirection with flame body. I think that's a very underrated thing to have on a redirector, especially with all the physical attackers that are going to be running around.
Yeah. And Scrafty having Moxie and Intimidate is awesome. Because you have to be aware of both. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a cheaper Incineroar, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't think it gets parting. No, it doesn't get parting shot. But yeah, it's pretty solid mon to have. I can imagine it can do a little bit of damage as well with 90 attack.
Yeah.
Because you can run like Knock Off on it and get rid of some items as well.
Knock Off, Drain Punch.
Yeah, Drain Punch, yeah.
It gets Taunt, it gets Snarl, so you can make it just like super bulky and you know, switch it in, get an Intimidate down, you know, get a Snarl off when they switch in a special attacker, pivot out. You can run Drain Punch then to give yourself a bit of recovery to keep it around longer than anyone wants it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like this team can pivot quite nicely with some of the options he's got here. He could play quite a good balance without any speed control if he wanted to.
Yeah, and I think
he's got the pieces here.
I think that's probably where he was aiming and then he picked up Dodrio last minute
just in case.
as a tailwind setter. That, people have to respect the fact that you could have tailwind.
Yeah, because the Urshifu can obviously be scarfed and be faster than most things anyway, and our Caledon can take hits, so it doesn't always mind going after the opposing Mons have been. Obviously, like you said, Sceptile has Unburden, so it can be silly fast as well.
Yep.
I mean, Raichu can nuzzle things as well, I suppose.
Yep.
So he definitely has a lot of just options here for how he can go about things. I do like the toolkit that he's given himself.
Yeah.
I think he's got a lot of pieces here that can really help him sort of maneuver around and position himself to win. So I do like that about the team.
Absolutely agree with you there.
It's just the range setter that I think if he had a Pelipper on this team, it's a really scary team with a Pelipper on it or a Tornadus.
Yes.
I think it would elevate it to that sort of next level.
Absolutely. Or even like an Iron Jugulus, to be honest, because then Jugulus get like Rain Dance as well.
Yeah, probably. I feel like every mon gets Rain Dance.
Just having that option
season, they all had them.
Of your weather setter also being your speed control.
That's something I really like to do with my weather teams, is have sort of the speed control plus weather combo.
Yeah.
It just gives you a lot more to work with without having to, because I know you can use the Dodrio, but I think realistically a lot of the time you don't want the Dodrio on the field.
No.
Just because it's not going to do enough.
No.
Yeah, when you've got like an Urshifu and a Sylveon, you don't really want a Dodrio on the field.
But outside of that, I really like this team.
I do like this team, though. I do think there's some good pieces here.
It's a lot of really good synergies.
That I rank this higher than Weens, just because there's so much more damage output just off the bat. There's just way more that he can do from what I can see, anyway.
Yeah,
I do like a lot of the pieces here. I think this is Breloom's best draft so far.
Actually,
I think this is probably his best team.
I would very much agree with that, actually. I like the team he had season 1, but I think this is a far more cohesive team. The synergies are there.
Yeah. I think he's just given himself a lot more to work with this season than previous seasons. Especially last season, he was very kind of had to go with the rain mode to do anything, whereas now, prepping for this team, there's a lot more things to consider.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite difficult, I think, to prep for everything he has here.
Definitely.
So I'd probably... Where did we rank Weens? It was...
Weens was a low B. This one, I think, high B, maybe...
Low A.
Maybe get away with
I think it would be an A if it had the rain setter that wasn't Klefki. I think that's where I'm at with this team.
Yeah, agreed. In fact,
you missing a key piece.
I'd honestly say you put Pelipper on this team. This is an S tier team.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least sort of high A, probably into the low S tiers because of the option. Yeah, just a good team. Yeah, Urshifu in the rain is scary for any team to prep for.
It's going to overwhelm you, and then Sceptile. If it gets the Unburden proc, the only thing you're going to beat it with in the rain is a poison move.
And there aren't that many good poison attackers.
No, exactly.
Especially in draft.
Yeah. Our Chaladon, when it then gets that +1 from Electro Shot, is going to be a nightmare to deal with. This team is going to cause a few teams massive headaches. Next, we have the Dondozo, the San Diego Dondozo.
This team, I'm immediately putting in our lowest tier possible because he stole my Scream Tail. So let's open up that F tier for this team.
Yeah, all right, good point.
Pretty much all I have.
Yeah. So,
but no, seriously, this is quite an interesting team. Actually, it
is
some interesting choices here. I'd say there's I might let you take the lead on this one, Matt, because I'm not too sure how all this team comes together?
So, for me, this team is those first 6 months and nothing else for me. I think Excadrill is a big waste of money on this team, big waste of points.
Yeah, I think if you haven't got sand, immediate sand, I know that you can get it with Torn and Screamtail, but like unless you've got like a T-Tar, I don't really see the value.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because it's one of my favourite mons to use, but
yeah, without T-Tar, it's not
There's
great.
just not enough here to support it.
So there are some very, very scary Pokemon on this team. Screamtail, if you know how to use it right, is one of the biggest menaces in VGC. I know you love your Screamtail. It's got so many tools.
Well, yeah, we saw last season in the SD League that Fluffo was doing amazing stuff with it.
Yeah. My
major is ridiculous.
Yeah. My major issue with Screamtail is it's almost completely shut down by Taunt. It doesn't have any damage output whatsoever.
Yeah, that is the big drawback.
You're
kind of forced to run Mental Herb a lot of the time.
Yeah, which then you lose the speed boost, which lets you go faster than everything else out there. Which,
I suppose on this team, at least he has another booster mon that he can kind of just, keep it on the Iron Hands.
Yeah, and he can, fake out into whatever move using Iron Hands. You can get up the Tailwind, and as long as you stop an opposing Tailwind, Screamtail's still going to be the fastest thing on the field and is still going to be able to be, a complete pain in the butt to deal with.
Yeah, definitely.
My main issue with this team is it's got amazing supports, but the two main sources of damage are incredibly fragile.
Yeah.
Typhlosion Hisui is all, to be honest with you, Scarf Eruption.
Yeah, that's my only issue with it, is I feel like it's a very one-dimensional pick. If you're not doing the Scarf Eruption, you're kind of wasting its potential.
Yeah.
At which point it's a bit easier to prep for because you kind of know what's coming, and if that isn't the set that comes, then you're probably all right anyway because it's not going to be doing as much damage.
Yeah.
Not going to be fast enough.
Valiant is the scariest Pokemon on the planet in singles.
Yeah.
In VGC,
yeah, I've never seen this
not so much.
Pokemon in battles because I obviously have no knowledge of singles. So
I've
really not seen this one.
I've used it in VGC. It's design-wise one of my favorite Pokemon ever. I just think it looks so freaking cool. The problem is it's a mixed attacker. It's got a very high physical attack and a very high special attack, which then makes it really frail. Yeah. If you'd taken...
Mixed attackers don't ever seem to work in doubles as well as they do in singles.
No, because it takes away from the bulk, which means, with Valiant, in my experience, you have to sash it.
Yeah, I was thinking you pretty much always want to be running sash.
Yeah, you either booster it and give it a couple of good spread moves.
Boost the speed, maybe.
Yeah, you boost I
ensure that you attack something before you die, I guess.
Yeah, I always boost the speed it when I played, until I then realised it doesn't live long enough to do anything, so you need to sash it even if you boost the speed it. Because if you run into a Prankster Tailwind, you're still going second.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't got the sash, you're dead.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about Iron Valiant. I think it could be a fun mon to see through the season because
I'm looking forward to it.
It can be run for different sets. But yeah, like you said, I'm not sure how viable it's going to be in a doubles format, especially when you can prep for it as well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it because like we always say, in the main things that threaten it in standard VGC, you're not facing every week in draft.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if without those threats, it becomes a threat itself.
Well, yeah, with the damage output that it's going to have and the fact that at 116 speed in draft, that means you're a lot of the time going to be the fastest thing on the field.
Exactly. But how is the lack of bulk going to affect it?
Yeah.
And, fairy fighting isn't the greatest typing.
No, it's a good offensive typing, but not the best
defensive typing.
Defensively.
So,
yeah. I mean, one thing I think he could possibly try and do is he has fast screens with Screamtail.
Yeah.
So he could maybe try and keep Valiant around using screens, because if you put a bit of bulk into those EVs and have light screen and reflect up, I think it could probably take a few hits.
Yep.
And he's also got one of the best redirectors in the game, so he can keep it safe for a bit.
But there is where the draft element comes back to bite him in the butt, in the fact that if you know your team is weak to Iron Valiant, you put safety goggles on or Terra Grass on your Iron Valiant counter. And Amoongus can't do shit.
True. That is kind of the main thing that's been holding Amoongus back in all of our seasons so far of not getting picked. It's just you can prep for it a bit too easily at times.
I absolutely love the support mons on this. Tornadus Therian is probably
very good value tailwind pick.
Yeah. And with Regenerator, it can take a hit, get up tailwind, switch out, get that HP back, come back in later, take another hit, set tailwind, switch out. You've got the two Regenerator mons there with Amoongus and Tornadus that can pivot around each other, constantly getting their HP back. I love that synergy there. And with Iron Hands as well, if you do want to go like Pikachu did versus me in season 1 with Hisui and Typhlosion, fake out, Calm Mind, defensive Terror, Typhlosion Hisui, then because it does have already good stats, you chuck Calm Mind boosts on it, it's going to be annoying and hard to remove, and you're not then reliant on the eruption.
Yeah, definitely.
Screamtail is just damn Screamtail.
Yes, Screamtail is easily one of the best draft mons in my opinion. It's got such a wide toolkit that it's just so hard to prep for.
Yeah, it can get the sun up. I do like Typhlosion
the fake tears as option on this as well, because he has mons that can really benefit from it, like the Typhlosion, and even the Tornadus can hit Bleakwind Storms after fake tears and really dent things. And the Iron Valiant if it's a special set.
Yeah.
So I do think he's got some really good mons that can benefit from that Screamtail.
The synergies in those first 6 are really, really nice. I'm just not
there's
sure
a lot going on there.
How it's going to translate into draft when they can be prepped for.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. There's definitely good pieces here, but there's a lack of sort of consistency throughout the team.
I think
certain matchups he could struggle with if his best attackers are not suited for that matchup. I think he's going to struggle to find answers for some teams.
Yeah. I mean, Iron Hands is good, but it relies on Drain Punch, which all you got to do is Terra Fairy and it can't regain its HP back. Wild Charge, which it's then damaging itself.
Yep.
Yes, it's got things like Thunder Punch and Ice Punch, Close Combat, but they're all, Close Combat is a move that's designed to get one big KO, and then you have to switch out because you need to reset the stat drops.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only upside to that is he has 2 Regenerator mons, so maybe he won't mind switching out as much.
True.
Sort of rotating the team around.
True.
But yeah, I do agree that it does. I really like Iron Hands, but I do think...
I love it. In standard VGC, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
but it's
one of my
not
favourite mons. But there's definitely in draft. I think there's a lot of ways to counter it.
I'm not really sort of thinking in terms of countering it in draft. I'm thinking more along the lines of, if you want it to sweep, you've got to build your team for the matchup around it sweeping. It's not going to, in draft at least, I don't think it's going to pull off the amazing comeback wins we've seen in regionals and things like that, because you can prep for an Iron Hands. You can have an Iron Hands counter there, which will then stop it from being able to do that.
Yeah.
Certainly if it's not able to get, big heals back from Drain Punch, as Chris found last season, it's reliant on that Assault Vest set. So it's not really going to carry a Protect.
No.
Or if you're not going to if you're not going to run the Assault Vest set, you've got to put a shitload of EVs into special defense, or a non-stab Moonblast is going to take it out. So
yeah, I'm just trying to think where to rank this, because it's difficult with this team. I think
it is really difficult, because for every negative thing I think of, I also think of something really positive about it as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot sort of weighing up on either side.
Yeah, it's all balancing itself out. So I'd say it's definitely a B tier team. It's definitely in that middle of the pack. It's going to be scary for a lot of teams to come up against.
I mean, I think the question is it better than Ween's team?
Yes. Absolutely.
I was going to agree with you.
There's too many synergies here for it not to be better than Ween's team. The fact that you can have Iron Valiant set electric terrain for Iron Hands to sweep. You've got the constant pivot in between the Amoongus, Iron Hands, Tornadus. The balance mode, if Evney can pull that off, is
works very well.
Ridiculously good with this team.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to remove all the regenerators plus the constant fake outs and everything Screamtail wants to do to you.
Yeah, that balance mode is terrifying. But at the same time, it's going to be a slow wear you down sort of balance mode. There's not really the offense to go with it.
Yeah.
It'll probably beat me, because I'll lose interest halfway through the match.
Well, I don't want to say
it. So, but it's going to take a lot of brain power to be doing that every week.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it better than Breloom's team? That's the question for me.
I don't think it's better than Breloom's team, personally. I would rank Breloom a little bit higher than it.
What do you think, Chal?
I would agree. I think Breloom's got a couple pieces that function a little bit better. Function a little bit better as a whole, and some pieces that could definitely work well if it has the right setting going for it. I would agree in the sense that Breloom's a little bit higher.
Okay. Yeah.
I like him. I mean, it's the same thing y'all been saying. I like Among Us. I like Iron Hands. I like Screamtail. Individually, I mean, like your big duo is Among Us and Iron Hands. Like, without them two being right next to each other, you got some things that are just kind of up in the air. Again, same thing. What's Extra Drill doing there?
I definitely outvoted them. Where is this one? Yeah, we're putting it right in the middle of the two we've already ranked. No, I think I agree with you, actually. Initially, I was like, there's just a few more synergies here than there are with Breloom's team, but the immediate offense that Breloom's team has is far scarier than the defensive core that this team's got. Now we are on to the EGN Cal's team.
Yeah, this is a spicy team.
This is a very spicy team. I like this team.
I like this team as well. This is a very scary team.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Seeing Ursaluna, Raging Bolt, Cresselia together is quite terrifying.
With Sableye
And he's got all the pieces around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he actually, I know we're not including the trades, but I think he got rid of Earthworm, did he? Maybe?
He
dropped Earthworm?
Yes, there were some trades.
I don't know. Like, the Tinkerton's interesting, but I'm not sure if he needs it.
I think they were worried about their fairy matchup, which I'm not sure they needed to be, personally.
No.
So they brought in Tinkerton to be able to deal with them. Tinkerton does give them another fake out option. And
surely, though, Earthworm was a counter to fairy anyway, wasn't it?
Not really.
No.
I
was just thinking with the resistances, but I suppose it's not really doing too much.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. It's a very defensive mon. There's no offensive output with it, unless you're going iron defense body press, and fairy resists fighting. So the body press isn't going to do anything. Whereas Tinkerton, my problem has always been it's only got 75 attack. So even though Gigaton Hammer is that massive base power move, in my experience using it,
stats.
Unlike Blood Moon Ursaluna, which is completely unbalanced. Yeah. So, I like Tinkerton on this team, but I don't think it's necessarily going to do what Kala thinks it's going to do. Tinkerton is a very, very good support mon. But
yeah, it does get some good moves, actually.
I just think it's let down by its stats. Even an extra 15 attack. And Gigaton Hammer becomes actually, a pretty scary move to go up against.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, though, I think the rest of the team is just crazy,
Yeah.
It's like the core that he's got there is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the team's pretty well, overall balanced, though, just as far as typing goes.
Yeah.
What he's trying to do as a whole, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, again, we've already discussed. Tommy and I are in the corner of Raging Bolt. I do like Ursaluna. Ursaluna, and we've discussed how Primate is kind of a cheap, annihilate.
Yeah.
Can still do the moves it needs to. It'd just be kind of a concern on its own bulk compared to the Annihilate. But if you EV train well, it shouldn't be too bad. I've seen fighting Tera Avalug Hisui be kind of a problem. Cresselia is scary as a whole. Granbull's pretty solid. I like Mouscurata. Typing wise, like I said, this team's really cool. It's nice and well put together.
Yeah, it's very balanced.
But I don't exactly know what they're shooting for unless it is a Cresselia Trick Room based team.
I think the Trick Room is the main mode here. He's got a lot of slow mons here.
It is possibly
99% of the time you want Trick Room.
Yeah, it is possibly the scariest Trick Room team you could build in draft.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. Especially when you've got Ursaluna and Cresselia next to each other. They're very tough to break when you can have Lunar Blessings going before your attacks.
Yeah, and before they traded away Earthworm next to Ursaluna with that Earth Eater ability, it can Shed Tail out, bring in your Raging Bolt behind a sub. And then when you bring it back in later on, you can Earthquake with Ursaluna to heal Orthworm back up to then substitute again.
Yeah.
The Trick Room core for me with Ursaluna, Raging Bolt, Cresselia, and then you can run Primate as well if you went speed reduce nature. You got Avalug, like you said, with the Tera fighting body press in Trick Room is terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's an interesting squad. It's an interesting setup. Again, you're putting a lot of faith in Cresselia.
A solid prep could stop Cresselia getting Trick Room up, but it's so bulky and it's got so many tools that Cresselia Trick Room is inevitable. You taunt it, Mental Herb, you taunt and attack it to try and cover the Mental Herb, and you're not going to get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you can fake it out, but it's just going to get Trick Room up the next turn.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You'd need quite the setup to get something like that done.
You just look at those. You just look at those defensive stats, though. 120 HP, 110 defense, absolutely. 120 special defense. You can EV this thing to live. The Pokemon equivalent of a nuke.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing this team go through some good battles. I think this is thus far, personally, probably one of the teams that I'm most excited to see.
For me, I personally think this is the scariest team in the league.
Wow, big claim, big claim.
I used Sableye last season. I know how good Sableye is, and I didn't even use it to its full potential. The fact that you've got a very good Sun core in here with Sableye, Raging Bolt, and Charizard, along with the phenomenal Trick Room core of Ursaluna, Raging Bolt, Cresselia, with then, like you pointed out, Avalugg, Hisui, Tera fighting, body presses. Gramble, even though they've traded away now, is a very underrated Intimidate mon. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it can put in work. It's got 120 attack. So, I'd be interested to see what that does, if it does anything, before it disappears with the trades. Aloma Lola, I'm not entirely sure what that thing's there for. It's bulky defensive pivot, so it's going to help, I guess. And if you know your Ursaluna is going to take a water attack, you can pivot in Aloma Lola instead to eat it. It's going to live almost anything, but it's not going to do a whole lot while it's on the field. So, yeah, there's just so many little synergies with this team. I think Meowscarada, I'm surprised this is the first time it's been drafted. It's fast, yes, it's frail, but it's not as unbalanced stat-wise as some of the other frail mons. So
yeah, what's its special move? Doesn't it have a special move?
Flower Trick, guaranteed crit, grass move.
Yeah, well then, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that mon and that move play out the rest of the season, especially with myself included, with people who are trying to create more ground resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So as the season goes on, I think Meowscarada and that move will be interesting to see how often it gets used.
Yeah. I look at this team and I see a team that's going to be very, very difficult to beat. It's going to be difficult to stop it doing what it wants to do. And it's got so many tools that it's hard to find a glaring weakness with it. So, for me at least, this is probably the first S tier team.
I don't disagree. I think could push like an A+, but
I
thus
wouldn't.
far it's
If you and Tommy both said it's an A tier, I wouldn't argue with you. But for me, I think it's an S tier team.
I would put this straight into S tier. Probably the scariest team.
yeah, no, cool. I'm down for it. I like the positioning.
Let's look at the Grumpy Pigs.
Grumpy King.
Wimberley's
It's a cool setup,
team.
man. I like Palazzo. I like Kingdra. I wanted Kingdra on my team.
Yeah.
Politoeds fun. I'm a Clodsire stan, and I know he dropped it just very recently. I've made a point, but yeah, no, very, very fun. Very fun team, I think, this is. And then
Yeah.
Ndidi is already just going to be a pain in the ass.
Changes they made in the grace period made this team a much, much better squad, but it was still missing something.
Yeah.
The fact that they traded away the sun aspect of it and not the rain aspect of it, I thought was a mistake.
Yeah, that surprised me, actually. I thought if you're going to get rid of one, you'd get rid of the rain, because, you know, sun plus the size spam has kind of been a thing that's worked in
but that's
actual VGC.
That's size spam with Armor Rouge, though. Not
True,
size
yeah.
spam with Iron Crown. Yes, Iron Crown is weak to fire, so having the rain from Politoed is going to help keep Iron Crown alive longer.
Mm.
The thing that makes this rain mode not very good for me is Kingdra.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about Kingdra, but just off what I'm seeing on the stats here, that they're very underwhelming.
Yeah, it's another mixed attacker, and I don't think it's been power crept. I think back in the day, Kingdra was a very yeah. I think back in the day, Kingdra was probably a very, very good rain sweeper.
Yeah,
but now it's got the speed to do it. 85 speed is good enough to be, you know, rain room where you run it with sniper instead of swift swim.
Yeah,
and you can run it under trick room.
Yeah, I think its stats are almost too balanced across the board. It's kind of not amazing at anything.
No, exactly.
It's too kind of spread out.
I prefer a special attacking rain sweeper over a physical one, simply because you can just get shut down by Intimidate if you're running a physical attacker.
Yeah,
with Swift Swim.
Yeah, true.
But you know, it's like they need to take like 10 or 15 points out of its attack, dump it into its special attack, and Kingdra would be amazing.
Yeah, if Kingdra was like 110 maybe on special attack, then it's a completely different ball game, really.
Yeah. And I think Salazzle in the sun could have been scary.
Yeah, I think I think the biggest use for Kingdra is if you're going to be like the best usage of it is either doing a full run setup, Swift Swim, or doing its sniper ability, which like I think it's like a 1/3% rise in crit capability. That's how I like using Kingdra. That's how I intended to use Kingdra. But got sniped out of my, no pun intended, got sniped out of my hands. But I like Kingdra. I think in the right hands it can be pretty useful. You did bring up a really great point that it could be for some matches, Politoed, Kingdra, and an Iron Crown kind of matchup with, I don't know, maybe you want to throw in Braviary or something as your fourth, just to counteract the fire weakness that Iron Crown has.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, it's another team that like I really like the pieces just because the pieces are there. I kind of want to put it maybe low A, high B, but I'm not exactly sure. And then especially after the trade, getting Scizor in there is what like mostly boosts it up to an A for me, just because I know and I really like Scizor as a competitive Pokemon. and how pretty well rounded it is and pretty strong as a Pokemon it is. But
I just think it needs Chi and Pow.
Yeah.
Personally.
The thing that boosts this team up post trade for me is Komodo.
Yeah, Komodo is really nice.
Komodo is a very, very strong Pokemon in draft.
Yeah, having a Mon with 3 usable abilities is really, really underrated.
3 usable
That's
abilities.
Really difficult to prep for.
An Omni boosting setup move that you then don't know whether it's going to run physical or special. Because it gets phenomenal coverage on both. It can also be an Iron Defense Body Press Mon. You know, I was so disappointed in myself for not being able to use it very well last season, but it just didn't fit my team. It fits this team very, very well.
Because he has so many fairy resists, and indeed he can obviously redirect things while you set up.
Yep.
And it's pretty much the best at doing that. And you know, even if you then get rid of the Como, you can bring in an Iron Crown or.
Yeah. Indeed, Como is a scary, scary proposition.
And another thing I like about it is that the good thing about the rain mode is he has these 2 steel types that benefit from that fire damage being reduced, but also Como is quite often steel Tera to counteract that fairy weakness. So having the rain option there as well can make Como a bit of a nightmare to get rid of.
Yeah, using the rain as a defensive tool is definitely not a bad shout on this team.
I think that actually could be where the rain works best with this team. Yeah,
rather than being an offensive tool for Kingdra to go ham with.
It could just allow like your Iron Crown to sit there for an extra turn or 2, just clicking Expanding Force, and it gives that Como an extra couple of turns to set up and sweep the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some good synergies here. I mean, you're always going to get good synergies when you've got the size spam stuff, I guess. But I can kind of see the direction of the team. I do kind of get the rain idea if it is more of a sort of defensive tool for Iron Crown. So I don't mind the rain too much. But like you said a minute ago, Matt, the Kingdra just kind of lets the team down a little bit in terms of not having enough damage output on the rain side.
Yeah, you'd almost be better picking up a Mon that didn't have a water type that didn't have Swift Swim but had better offensive stats.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could run like Sniper and Scope Lens with water Hydro Pump, and then you're probably going to do a lot of damage. But again, you're relying on low accuracy moves and using up items for the crits, and there's a lot that you need to do to get Kingdra working, I feel. Yeah.
I mean, if anyone can do it, Twim can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen
I'm not looking forward to if he brings a Sniper Scope Lens Kingdra to battles against me either, because I'm going to get crit every time.
Yeah. We saw how creative he could be last season. You know, less said about minimize sword stats overquill.
Yeah, that overquill was evil.
That was freaking evil.
I think this team's quite a good team overall, I'd say. I think
for me,
there's 1 or 2 things you could change.
For me, pre-trades, it's middle of the pack B tier. Post-trades is probably low A.
Yeah, because I'd say that
that's fair.
Still a better team than Breloom's, who we put in the high B.
Yeah,
I think there's more here.
I would agree with with B.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, with low A.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
So we go in low A or B?
I'd say low A.
Do A.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do an A.
Okay.
It's got solid setup thing.
I'm not against that.
I don't think you can ever put size spam much lower than A lot of the time, because every season it just seems to destroy everybody.
Yeah, this is true.
Doesn't matter if you prep for it or not, it's still going to just win.
Yeah.
Speaking of just winning.
Oh, God, yes. Evil Otter himself.
I've just seen who's up next. F tier immediately because I didn't click Tera Blast with my Palafin last season.
Yes,
He's
Evil Otter
immediately
himself.
Bottom tier.
This team is fucking terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And
yeah. Yeah, there's just so many mons here that are scary.
The core of Rillaboom, Farigiraf, Primarina on its own, I find scary.
Yeah.
You throw
Yeah,
in...
you had Zapdos and
Rillaboom...
Ursaluna as well. It's just, what do you do against those 5?
Yeah.
I mean,
I find Rillaboom to be the scariest of those, with Farigiraf being terrifying as like a support mon.
no.
And
Farigiraf, don't let the way it's used normally fool you. Farigiraf
believe me, I was
can
about to say,
absolutely destroy things.
Yeah, it
yes,
can do a lot of damage.
believe me, I was about to say, because it's a mon that I would see typically and imagine typically used to be support mon, but its fucking abilities alone are what I think just help escalate it to like a completely different tier on its own.
Armatail is one of the best abilities in the game, I think.
Armatail is phenomenal.
I took an offensive throat spray for a graph to Liverpool Regionals in January, and it won me 2 sets by itself.
Yeah. I've been using it a lot on ladder. I was using a version of the Team Wolf used to win a regional recently. I can't remember which. I think it was Charlotte.
That's the Farigiraf set I took to...
yeah, that's the one I was using, and it's crazy strong. It can sweep through teams so fast.
I didn't quite agree with some of the EV placement, simply because for me, Farigiraf's got such a bloated HP stat that you don't need to put as much HP investment as a lot of people do. Obviously, Wolfie hasn't shared his EV spread, so we don't know exactly what it is.
He did. He shared it on his Patreon.
I don't have his Patreon, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, fair enough. Because I completely just stole it. I didn't even think to myself. I was just like, this guy's good.
No, I've seen people trying to figure out what the EV spreads were, because you can watch the streams back and see the damage rolls and all that sort of thing. And I didn't agree with what some of those people were saying. They were putting way too much HP on it. So I did some calcs of my own and managed to get, I think it was like another couple of points for special attack on it. And just go, throat spray, proc from Hyper Voice, and you can just start picking up KOs left, right, and center with Psychic on it. It's ridiculous.
I like that set as well because the throat spray doesn't limit you to like where Specs makes you have to run offensive moves. You can still have your Trick Room.
Yep.
So it just gives you so much versatility, and I think on this team in particular, it's going to really just be. I can't imagine there's a matchup where he doesn't bring it, because this team is quite slow as well, and I feel like he's always going to want that Trick Room option, especially with Blood Moon. And
so for me, having had quite a few conversations with Otter around, how he plays the game in general. He likes, you look at his team last season, he ran Tailwind quite a lot. And I think his average speed on his team last season was 65. He prefers those sort of middling speed tier mons on a Tailwind team. He's not a Tailwind hyper offense guy. So, and that's what makes this team even scarier, in that you don't know whether he's going to run Trick Room with Farigiraf or Tailwind with Galarian Zapdos. Yeah, that just makes the matchup 10 times more difficult.
By the way, Galarian Zapdos is a mon I did not really see like much usage, or just I haven't really seen it used very often at all in VGC or draft, and I didn't realize how unbelievably good it is.
Yeah,
its damage output is surprisingly good.
It's
Galarian Zapdos is
scary
wild.
mon to prep for.
It's absolutely terrifying. And
Gonna
even if
like
you
a
have
choice band attack, no.
Oh my god! Well, even if in ranked battles that I've played, I've seen Galarian Zapdos, and even after an icy win against it and a tail win in support of my team, it's still outspeeding like both of my Mon that I have on the field. So it's absolutely ridiculous how fast it is. And then on top of the fact that it's terrifyingly strong.
Yeah, it's a really scary mon to prep for. There's not many things that can live a choice banded either Brave Bird or close combat because like nothing resists both of those types. I don't think.
And then you add in the fact
is there a single type that resists that? I don't think there is.
No.
Oh.
There's not a single type
ridiculous.
that resists both flying and fighting.
And to top it off, you can't intimidate it either.
Nope.
Yeah, it's one of those mons that is just a nightmare when you've got to sit down and prep for it. And it's not slow either, really. It's 100 speed. It can outspeed a lot of things. And
base 100.
You can run
slap a scarf on it.
Yeah, I really like that pick.
Yeah, it fits this team so well. It fits this team so well because it is that offensive support mon. Really, it's got quite a lot of good support tools. So
I mean, the thing is, if you ignore just the Umbreon, the Rotom, and the Copajara, that 6 that he's got there, you could just bring to every matchup, and it's going to win games.
Don't sleep on Rotom.
Rotom's
going to be insane.
Yeah, he's probably going to get a lot of value out of that for 1 point, just in terms of its support moves alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Rotom's probably the best support mon on this team.
In terms of the moves, you're probably right.
Yeah. But
I think the only one on here that I don't...
Hold on a second. If you go... I want to just check something real quick. So if I go Rotom... Put in Rotom Wash. The difference in stats between the two, for me, you're getting the more defense. You get more bulk. But you slap an Eviolite on that.
Yeah,
and the Eviolite Rotom's got better typing with slightly more speed and the exact same toolkit.
Yeah, you don't lose much damage either, really. 95 to 105, it's not that big of a difference.
No. You get, like I say, you're getting the same support toolkit that you would get with the evolved Rotoms for 1 point. And
value-wise, that's one of the better 1 pointers, I think.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those mons that end of the season is going to be like put up loads because Otter's going to just pop off with it all season.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him pick it up, I looked at him like, why is he picking Rotom? And then I went and had a look.
You look at it and it's...
I went and had a look and I'm like, oh shit. It's got
basically exactly what happened last season with that damn Clefable.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, why has he just done that? And then out of nowhere, everyone's like, well, this mon needs to be doubled in points immediately.
The thing is, it is very reliant on Eviolite.
Yeah.
And Knockoff is super effective into it. So...
Yeah, that is true. Knockoff is a pretty good counter into it.
It's you're going to need to invest some speed into it to make it do anything. So it'll probably go up to like a 4 point next season. But
with how good Otter's going to be with it, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 14 point next season out of nowhere. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, people put it up next to Porygon 2 or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But this team, the only mon I really don't get is the Umbreon, but outside of that, it's like just a really good team.
I don't get the Umbreon.
Really know what the point of Umbreon is.
I think the way I see it is that the Umbreon's just for like type coverage because I mean it's your only dark type on the team. It's got a relative wider range of like moveset, but I agree. I think the weak link of this team is the Umbreon.
I guess because he knows he's got to play Psy Spam this season, that having an Umbreon there's nice because he can just sit there clicking Snarl.
Yeah,
that might be like the only week he brings it, but
yeah, for the value, for the cost of it, I don't think it's a bad shout. It's a decent mon. I don't think it, beyond type coverage, I don't think it fits this team.
I'm going to avoid saying anything worse about it because I know Otter's going to bring it against me and just like sweep my team somehow with it. So I'm not going to say any more bad stuff about it because it's just going to come back to bite me.
I don't think he'll be sweeping any teams with Umbreon. It's a defensive pivot. It is, to be honest, it's a perfect Tommymon. It's very, very bulky. It's very fucking annoying to deal with.
You know how much I love Snarl as well. So
yeah, exactly.
It's like perfect for me. I get stabbed Snarl.
Yeah. So the weak links for me are Umbreon and Copperaja, but they're two very, very cheap mons that bring tools to it that he's not going to want every week.
I think he's got the sort of leeway to have those sort of mons that are situational because he just has such a strong core that he doesn't really need to rely on anything else now.
No.
Like I said earlier, he can pretty much bring the same sort of 5 plus an extra mon to every match because it's such a tough core to break down. I think this team's
like you said,
easy S.
Yeah, and like you said, the Umbreon, it probably only comes to that Psyspam matchup.
Yeah, I suppose if there's like
it'll
team
win
with like
game.
a really good special attacker.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
just because it's bulky and click Snarl.
Yeah, it's a good defensive pivot. He's got such good offense elsewhere. I don't see how the Umbreon fits.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's the point.
It's nice to just have the option to slow the game down if he wants to.
Maybe that's the point, and my hyper offense brain can't see it.
Yeah, we can't process anything other than press tailwind and click buttons.
Yeah. I was a Tornursh stan, come on.
Yeah.
Click tailwind, click surging strikes,
you
game
might
win.
Switch mons out. Just click attacks until it dies.
Yeah, it switches itself out.
Yeah, it will switch out when it's dead. But yeah, I think this team's a no-brainer for the S tier personally.
The question is,
whoa, okay,
is it better than?
Is it better than Callie's team?
The Callie's team, yeah.
Man, honestly, I would say so, just because this. So, like, Callie's team has all the pieces. There's some really nice cohesion with all the Pokemon. This one, I would say, every single mon is a piece, aside from the Umbreon, and every single mon can like just plug and play into damn near any position, and you're gonna pretty much be like pretty well set. Everything's gonna help each other. Everything's gonna balance each other. I mean, the mon that you might want to even just keep around 24/7 might be the Rillaboom, just because of the Surge, what was it, Grants the Third, just to give a little bit of a kind of health boost. But everybody kind of plays well together on this team. I would say I like it a little bit more.
I think the same. I think it's slightly above.
I agree with everything you're saying. I just look at the different cores within EGN, and I see Ursaluna, Raging Bolt, Cresselia. That is a ridiculously strong core of 3. Yeah. Then you go Raging Bolt, Sableye, Charizard, and that's a ridiculous Sun team.
Yeah, it's tough. They're pretty much neck and neck. I think they've both got.
I'd agree with
certain
that.
Things
I am outvoted though. You guys say that the Otter's team is the better team.
Yeah, I think originally I thought Callie's was better, but the more I'm looking at Otter's, I'm just thinking that even if you shut down like his Trick Room or his Tailwind, like he just doesn't even need speed control with this team. Whereas I feel like Callie's team a lot of the time needs Trick Room, and I feel like Otter's team can just thrive without Tailwind or Trick Room.
I don't disagree with that point. I don't disagree with anything you two have said at all. I think it's just that personal preference.
Yeah. To be honest, I keep going back and forth between which of these two teams I think is the best.
This is like you're on the fence. You're on the fence.
Because
Charles
I'm
in
currently
Team
looking at
Otter.
Otter's team. if I switch back to Kelly's team real quick, I'll probably change my mind. It's because I could see this one in front of me. I'm like, this is just brilliant.
Yeah, in all
honesty, I think they're like neck and neck, but
yeah.
I would put Otters probably just like by a millimeter ahead.
Okay. Majority rules. I don't like it, but I'll go with it.
Right, we'll have to let Matt put this next team wherever he wants.
F.
You haven't even looked at it yet.
The Politoeds.
So this is
Chris and his.
This is Mr. 15-pointer himself.
I must have every 15-point Pokemon in the draft.
I'm convinced that when he starts his draft, he just looks at 15-pointers until he's nearly out of points, and then goes, "Oh, there's 14 other tiers there."
I actually wouldn't be surprised.
Panic pick up 3 or 4 1-pointers.
I go normally straight to the middle. I go to like the sort of 10, 9, 8 pointers, and then build out from there.
I just look for wherever Palafin is and then figure the rest out later. Worked for me most seasons.
Yeah. We'll see when we finally play it if it would have worked out for you this season.
Yeah, for the 1 week that it's actually going to be available.
Yeah. So pre-grace period, he had...
This is the Chi-Yu.
Yeah. He had
wasn't it? Yeah.
Chi-Yu, Toxicroak. Did he get... Yeah, he got rid of the Toxicroak.
Yeah, because I've got Toxicroak.
Yeah. Clodsire. And Sunflora. Oh, the 1 week wonder from last season.
I'll be honest, this team got way worse after the trades, in my opinion, because he got rid of the Chi-Yu. He got rid of the wrong fire type.
Yeah. I would absolutely
I don't know why
agree
he got
with
rid
you.
of the Chi-Yu. The fact that he was allowed to get Fluttermane and Chi-Yu was crazy, and then he just decided he didn't want them.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the scariest like duo probably in the game.
Yeah. Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, Ogerpon, Wellspring.
Yeah.
You know, that's...
As soon as I seen that he drafted Chi-Yu after he got the Fluttermane, I was like, I beg I'm not playing this guy.
Yeah.
Because like, what in draft? What do you do against that?
There's absolutely nothing you can do.
Like you're just going to lose at least 1 mon, probably 2 off of the
turn 1, Dazzling Gleam, Heatwave, and you're sat there praying for a Heatwave to miss so that one of your Pokemon can survive.
That's literally it. You just have to pray that a shot's going to miss.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then if you want to hit Chi-Yu with a water move, he just switches in Ogerpon Wellspring, which eats it and heals up from it.
Yeah, I am surprised that he decided to keep the Arcanine ahead of the Chi-Yu. I'm sure he has his reasons, but
the Intimidate for Fluttermane.
Yeah, the Intimidate's nice, and the Howl next to Ogerpon is pretty fun.
Yeah. For me, he kept it around for the Fluttermane defensive weakness to physical attacks.
Yeah.
But I personally think he could have got rid of Arcanine, kept Chi-Yu, and got a cheaper Intimidate Mon.
Well, he could have gotten intimidated with the points that he's spent on that Kilowatt rule that I don't really understand why it's there.
Oh yeah, because he then went on to the more trades, didn't he? I was just looking at what he did.
Oh, did you have the other one on it?
Yeah, so he brought in the Hatterene, Alolan Golem, Rabska Houndstone.
Oh yeah, so he brought in the sort of explosion revival blessing strat.
Yeah, the Trick Room mode. Which...
I do think that it was a good decision to get rid of that Trick Room mode because having a Hatterene is not enough to warrant a Trick Room mode.
No.
I feel like if you put your team in Trick Room here, you're at a disadvantage because all of your good Mons are ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
So I feel like you just lose yourself the game if you Trick Room with this team.
Yeah, I don't fully understand the Kilowatt rule. I like the Flygon pickup.
I really like the Flygon. It was one I looked at.
It's not a Mon that I've ever used, and I know a lot of people slate it.
Mm.
I don't think it's as good as all of the Flygon believers would have you believe.
Mm.
But I just
I
think
just
it's
like
a
it because I
worse
think
Garchomp.
Flygon looks cool, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just such a cool mod. I wish they'd made it stronger than it is.
Yeah, I just think it's a worse Garchomp.
Yeah, pretty much. At least it's got Levitate as well, I suppose. It's another ground immunity, which is nice when you've got Arcanine on the field.
Yeah.
That's one thing he's done well, actually, is he's managed to get a bunch of ground immunities and a water immunity on a team that's got an Arcanine Hisui.
Yeah.
So that was good team building on that part.
He's built the team pretty well.
Mm.
There's a lot of people very high on Iron Jugulus as a Tailwind Mon and a support Mon.
Yeah.
You used it amazingly well last season.
I found it to be brilliant. It was, it changed my season once I had that on the team.
Yeah. So
it was kind of a very underrated Mon for me.
Yeah. The Kilowattrel makes zero sense when you've got the Iron
Jugulus.
Jugulus.
I don't think you're ever bringing that over the Jugulus.
No.
Like the Jugulus maybe doesn't always have the damage output I found, but that's not really its job. It kind of gets you a Tailwind, and then you've got fast Snarls or fast Air Slashes for flinches. And it just becomes a nightmare to get rid of.
Maybe that's why he got the Kilowattrel, is so that he can make it have the damage output. But then you've got...
I just think it's a lot of points to
give
to us, or just have another version of something you already have.
And they're both flying types. So they share weaknesses.
Mm. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting decision. I mean that 4 that he's got there is very similar to how his team was last season, where it's like you've got to just try and prep for that 4 really more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't beat that 4, you're not going to win the matchup, because he could just bring that 4 most weeks, and it's going to be difficult to beat.
I think that 4...
I will say I like. Go for it.
No, you go. You go.
No, I will say I've seen more and more I guess Pokemon streamers use Toadscroll as like a support and very strange kind of like trick room specialty kind of mod. I'm really interested if that's kind of influenced the drafting style here for the Politoeds. I also like Flygon. I like Flygon as a really quick and speedy, kind of hard-hitting mon. Again, I've said it before, I've seen it used as kind of like a steel type, Choice Bandit, or even Rocky Helmet. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. And then I think Wellspring is just always, whoever gets that has got to steal at whatever round they're getting.
So it's kind of nuts that he got Wellspring and Fluttermane on the same team. Well, I certainly expect Fluttermane to get a bit more usage this season from Chris. DCL was more sort of support Flutter, wasn't he?
Yeah, he liked the support aspect that Fluttermane can bring, which I think Fluttermane's a very underrated support mon.
Mm.
We've seen it pick up more and more in the more recent regionals, where people have started using it with Taunt, with Charm, and its only offensive move being Moonblast.
Yeah,
so it's
I think
boost the speed.
Fast Taunt is very underrated on it.
Yeah, boost the speed with Icy Wind, Taunt, and Moonblast has been a set that's been picking up quite a lot recently, and it's not the way I'd use Flutter. Personally, I don't think
I just like the Tera Fairy.
I don't think I've ever run Flutter without choice specs. I've tried using the boost the speed option, and I even tried Life Orb at one point, which was actually quite good, to be honest with you. I just set it up
in choice specs and Tera Fairy, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
Let me just click buttons.
Yeah.
It's I say a shame. It's a good thing you got rid of the GU, because
for us,
I don't have to face it. It's a shame for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if he had that GU still, this is like a tier team, just like instantly, like high A, because it's just that core alone just wins half your matchups. But I still think this is a strong team because of the core, but I do feel like outside of that 4, the other was it 5 mons don't really have a place.
I think Pikachu has some good synergy with Ogerpon Wellspring with the Lightning Rod. I think it's got some good synergy with Iron Jugulus because it's got the Fake Out, which can let you get a Tailwind off without taking so much damage. I think Pikachu is budget Raichu. It's got a lot of the tools that Raichu has got without the stats.
Yeah.
Is it Lightning Ball or whatever it's called? The item you can put on it, which doubles its offensive stats.
Oh yeah.
It's going to probably be tied to that if you want it to have any damage output. But then it's just going to die to one hit. So,
yeah, true.
You can Eviolite it, I guess, but even then, its stats are still so low that the Eviolite's not going to help. You'd be better off just putting a sash on it.
I'm wondering if this was almost like a gimmick kind of draft choice where or pickup, where it's one of those situations, and I always go back whenever I talk about drafts. I always go back to NFL. NFL. Sometimes there's those teams where they kind of have certain players they wanted but got picked up, and then they're in this kind of scramble to do something. And you go to your draft board and you're looking at everybody and you're like, okay, fuck it, we're just gonna pick this guy. Realistically, he's like a kind of round 7, round 8 kind of talent, but it was the best option you had.
They've reached,
exactly,
the good old fashioned reach. Yeah,
exactly.
So I think this 6 is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You've got the Flygon Earthquake next to Jugulus. Wellspring Ogerpon resists the Earthquake if you wanted to risk bringing it in. Lightning Rod on Pikachu will let you get more offensive with your Ogerpon Wellspring because it's no longer going to take the damage output.
I like the just really good speed options that there are on his speed control options. He has some of the best speed control in the league by quite a distance with the Flutter Mane Icy Winds. You've got Iron Jugulus, Kilowattrel. There's a lot of ways that he can just ensure that he's going first.
Toadscruel's got Trick Room.
And Toadscruel with Trick Room.
And Toadscruel can be, a budget Amoonguss as well.
It's nice that he's got the Spore option. It kind of forces prep, which is good because it kind of takes items away.
Yeah, I think Toadscruel's ability holds it back. It can be a good Pokemon, but
am I right in saying that the ability means that Spore will always go last?
Always go last, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
So even though it's a fairly fast Mon,
it's always going to be a slow Spore.
All its support moves, all its status moves go last.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
So it's just like, even in Trick Room, if you set up Trick Room, its Spores still go last in Trick Room.
Yeah. That kind of sucks, actually.
Yeah. It's a Mon that I like. I like the idea of. It's got some really good tools, but the ability just really, really holds it back.
Yeah, it's a pretty big nerf on it.
It's got Rage Powder, so it can be a good redirection Mon. Again, it's ground typing. It can redirect away, the lightning attacks, the electric attacks from your Ogerpon and your Iron Jugulus. It resists. It's one of the few ground types that actually resist ground, so it can redirect those away from the Arcanine Hisui.
Yeah.
So it's a decent Mon. It's good value for the points. I just think it's the Alolan Golem and Kilowattrel that really bring this team down for me.
Yeah, I don't see the point in either of those, and 3 electric types is a bit much. But I still think you have. I think this team, it's difficult to rank it because it's not got the consistency of the other teams we've ranked, but you have to respect, in particular, that front 4.
Yeah.
and you can't really say that it's like a bad team or anything, because it's just there's way too many good parts here. I think it's just that it's a team that could very quickly overwhelm someone just with the hyper offense that you can bring out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's probably better than Ween's team. Just
I think it's around the sort of area where we ranked Weens, so sort of low B.
Yeah, I think
that would be a fair place to put it.
For me personally, and it's once again coming back to personal preference, the offensive output he's got, despite the kind of lack of synergy between a lot of the Mons, puts it above Weens' team for me.
Yeah, I think I'd say it's probably the next team up from ahead of Weens. I think that's a fair place to put it, because I think you're right. It does just edge it because of the damage output again.
Yeah, I think they're close. I think it's almost
it's hard to compare, isn't it? Because they're such different teams. Like Weens' team is all sort of mid-tier picks that can all sort of pull their weight, whereas this team relies heavily on 4 high picks.
Yeah,
it's quite difficult to sort of compare them.
It's 2 very different draft strategies and 2 very different styles of play. So
it's the sort of matchup where I'd love to see how that goes when those 2 teams face each other. Because
absolutely, yeah.
Like, so there's so many things to think about in that sort of matchup.
I can't wait to do the commentary for it if they do play.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'd say it's just ahead of Weens. So sort of mid B, mid to low B.
Definitely a B. Solid B.
We are on to Ted's team, the Santalune Storms.
I'll let you take the lead on this, Matt, because I know Walking Wake is there and you're going to want to talk about that.
Yeah, instant F team for stealing my Walking Wake and one of my backup picks in Comfy. And also one of my favourite support mons in Galarian Articuno. This really does have a lot of my favourite Pokemon on one team. The problem with that is they don't work together.
It's kind of, it feels like a balanced team, but not a balance. I don't really know. I feel like the main aim is sort of balance, but I don't know if the pieces are all there.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the story of it. He's got some of the pieces for multiple different modes.
Yes.
But not all of the pieces for any.
I would absolutely agree with you on that, because you've got, like you say, that balance mode with Incineroar, Landorus, Comfy, but then you don't really have the sustained offense other than Walking Wake. Galarian Articuno can do that, but its coverage isn't the best. So you're forcing that then into the balance mode as well. What I like Articuno as is the support tools it brings.
Yeah.
Where it gets
having Trick Room and Tailwind is
yeah,
pretty crazy.
And competitive. So
and competitive is a really nice ability, yeah.
It keeps the Intimidate mons he's got in Incineroar and Landorus safe from Intimidate. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's quite funny that he's got a competitive mon and then he's took the 2 best Intimidators.
Yeah. The thing for me I don't fully understand is how the Comfy fits into this.
Yeah, it's more of just a healer, isn't it, than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Tailwind, it's got Trick Room, it gets Sunny Day as well to help Walking Wake, but Walking Wake's
annoying next to like Incineroar that already doesn't really die.
Yeah,
and you can just keep healing it.
For me, on this team, you take either Comfy or Walking Wake. You don't take both. Because Walking Wake is your high point damage dealer. But outside of the Sunny Day that Comfy can set, it doesn't synergize really well with Comfy.
No.
It doesn't it, its physical defense is the higher of its two defenses, so it doesn't really benefit from having the double intimidate.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see how he uses that, because it's going to be in a way I've never seen it used before, or never thought of using it before.
No.
It was the centerpiece of my regionals team. I took it to 6 VGC tournaments this year, and I've used it with assault vest sets, booster sets, choice specs, life orb, and I've never seen it actually made properly bulky to where it would benefit from having comfy.
No, the one of the picks I think is quite interesting is that Riolu. I think
I like the Riolu pick.
It's a cool prankster choice.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool prankster choice.
And that's his sort of sunsetter as well, I guess, because you get Prankster Sunny Day.
You get Prankster Sunny Day. I like the Prankster coaching on like Landorus or Incineroar or Muck as well. Minimize Muck with Prankster coaching and comfy healing is going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. That's scary. Actually, very, very scary.
Yeah, minimize in general is something we've probably sensitive subject after last season for you. It's not something you see very often, actually.
No,
minimize or any sort of evasion moves.
I find it super annoying to face on ladder, and I usually end up swearing a lot at my TV. Because on ladder, when you can't see it coming, it's a cheese strat.
Yeah.
In draft, it's a very risky strat, and I applaud to him for using it because he knew I had Haze in Polion.
Yeah.
But he also knew, he
That's kind of the mind game, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you know that your opponent has that, do they actually then bring it or not? Because if they think you already know that sort of thing, it's like, are they just not going to bother bringing it, or will they bring it? And then
he saw
just
it
in this constant mind game.
I can't be salty about it at all. As annoying as it was, I was also really, really impressed with how he played it. And Ted is a very, very good player, and I think he will make that strat work probably more than once this season.
I think he's a very experienced draft player from what I've seen. He plays in a lot of leagues, and I imagine he has a plan here that I'm sure he will prove to us works very efficiently.
We can't see it. That's the thing.
That's it. Yeah,
that's what I see here.
Pretty good. When you have intimidation Pokemon and you can use them properly, and then 2 at that, it speaks for itself.
I just struggle to see the synergy between a lot of this outside of the Muck comfy Riolu. Superior is an interesting pick because of the Telestera with Contrary. It's a solid team. I don't think it's as good as some of the other teams in B.
I agree with you.
It's scary because of the double intimidate. It's going to be hard to deal with because of comfy. It will make things like Incineroar difficult to get off the field.
Yeah.
But
I'm struggling for where to place this team.
It's got a lot of scary individual pieces that not having Ted's insight when he was building the squad, I don't see how they work together.
That's the thing. I'm trying to rank this without using the bias of knowing Ted's a good player.
Yeah.
And because this team for me just doesn't have the synergy that the other teams we've seen have.
Yeah.
Which is why I would personally rank it fairly low.
Agreed.
Just because I don't see, personally, obviously I don't have loads of experience, but from what I'm just
No.
looking at here, it's like I wouldn't know how to use this team.
No, me either.
High C maybe.
For me, Incineroar, Walking Wake, Riolu, Galarian Articuno work pretty well as a Sun Core.
Mm-hmm.
But then which of the other Mons go in with that? And that's where I struggle, is because that core of 4 itself feels quite forced.
Yeah,
because Walking Wake and Riolu are both weak to Fairy. Incineroar doesn't like particularly taking Fairy attacks; they're neutral.
No.
But Incineroar is, bulky enough to shrug it off. Comfy's ability is kind of wasted for the most part. I'd go low B. I'm not sure it's. I think just because of the power of the individual Mons, I don't think I could put it in C. But I'm not against put it in C if the two of you think it's that low.
I'd say high C, but I'd be willing to go low B if that's where we're at with that.
Charles, deciding vote, B or C?
C plus for sure.
Okay.
C plus for sure. I think it could push for a B minus, but I think it's guaranteed C plus.
Yeah,
with room to grow.
Yeah, again, I'm trying to sort of look at it without that bias of like knowing that Ted will make this team work.
Yeah, same. And that's
because
I'm
if
having
I
to take the
included
coach
that,
out of it.
This is like a B to A team because I know Ted's a very talented player and everything. So
yeah, and
I'm
he's
trying to just
seeing
look at it from if this was like my team.
Yeah, he's seeing something. He's seen things with these pieces that work together that we can't wrap our puny brains around.
Yeah. So when you see this ranking, Ted, just know that my knowledge is not quite there. This is off of my very limited knowledge.
I'll even say this: when Ted sees this, Ted, I have played you. I know you have the capability of making this team a B plus. But the cohesion down the line is going to be interesting. So it's definitely C plus for now. But I'm excited to see how it develops into something more.
Yeah,
Ted's a great fucking player.
I think in like my hands, this team's a D. In Ted's hands, it's probably an A.
That's literally how I feel about
it. Yeah. But now we move on to the Tera Dark Tyrants. Probably the most controversial team.
Draco's team.
Yeah.
This is the
terrain team. Yeah, the terrain squad.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to start with this. I looked at Raichu Alola as an option for the role I ended up drafting Ambipom for. You take away the electric terrain, and Raichu has near 0 damage output, unless you get off a nasty plot. But for me, that's the way to shut that down if it's been brought as an offensive piece. It's got the tools to be a very, very good support mon. The problem is that then you're not utilizing its ability. And that's the whole reason why I threw it off my draft board. So
yeah, this team's quite funky. I like the terrain, but yeah, like you said, a lot of the mons are sort of not so great if they're not in the terrain, like the Raichu, Sneasler to some degree. The boulder gets a boost from it.
The boulder, I think, is a very, very good pickup. I think in draft, that thing's a cool pick. Fucking scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that same sort of Urshifu thing of being able to hit you through a protect. And
it's a 100% accurate, stupidly strong rock move. And there aren't that many rock resists in the game. And the things that would keep it in check in standard VGC don't really exist every week in draft. So, it comes back to that old adage of you're not facing Fluttermane every week. So you're not facing, Urshifu and well, you're going to be facing Ogopon quite a few times now, but
Yeah.
thanks to the new guys letting us have one Ogopon.
Well, this was one of the guys that voted for it, and
Yeah,
because
I
he
know.
wanted his Hearthstone Ogopon
Yeah.
and that.
I like
This team's weak to intimidate, though, is one thing I noticed.
Yeah.
Very weak to intimidate.
Yeah, it's 3, 4, 5 strongest attackers are all physical, so very weak
Ed
to
must be
intimidate.
just buzzing to play this team.
Yeah.
He's just going to sit there and just spam intimidate all day.
I do think Thwacky is probably going to get overlooked by a few people unless they've watched Shady Penguins singles draft matches.
Yeah, I've watched those. It does decent damage, especially with the grass terror.
Yeah, grass terror, choice band, grassy glide. It hurts even off a Thwacky.
Yeah, you can't underestimate it.
I think if you took the Pinchurchin Raichu out and brought in another fake out mon, or I think, does Thwacky get fake out?
I don't think so. Oh, does it?
Yes, Thwacky gets fake out.
Wow.
But you're not necessarily going to want to run Thwacky with fake out every week, especially if you want to go that, choice band route with it. So I would personally draft a second fake out option to replace Raichu, one that can actually use its ability, and just go with the grassy terrain mode.
Yeah.
Yes, you're then forced to either run Iron Boulder without a boost from its ability, or you're running it with booster energy every week. But you're going to be doing that for half the season anyway, because you're not going to bring Pinchurchin every week. So,
yeah, I don't feel like you need double terrain.
I like this first 4. I like that first 4. I like Noivern.
Yeah, I like Noivern. I don't like the Gliscor.
I can't stand Gliscor. I don't think Gliscor's very good at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's great. It's too easy to just remove.
Yeah. It's another one of those that, back in the day was a stupidly strong pick.
Yeah.
And apparently in singles, even now, it's still a really, really strong pick. But I know nothing about singles. I'm just going off of what I've seen.
An interesting point, though, is that he has actually traded away the Gliscor now.
Oh, has he now?
So he's traded away the Gliscor and Stantler to pick up Driftblim and Bonfan.
It's interesting that he traded away Stantler after me pointing out the fact that you can't skill swap away Quark Drive, Photosynthesis, or the Ruin abilities. So it would see me drafted the Stantler specifically for the skill swap Intimidate strats. But for that, he doesn't actually have a competitive mon or anything that will get a boost from Intimidate. So Stantler with that skill swap strat was kind of wasted anyway. I like the Zoomerl on this team.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I quite like it, apart from the fact that it's just another Intimidate week choice.
Yeah.
I do feel like this team really could do with a Defiant user. I know he wanted Bishop before I picked it up.
Yeah.
I've obviously traded it away now, so I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the season he maybe picked.
Yeah.
Just to give him a better matchup into a lot of the Intimidate teams.
I wouldn't be surprised if he picked it up pretty soon. I think he'd be better off with a
creative.
Yes, he is very creative. I think this team would benefit more from a competitive mon than a Defiant one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the points value is on Pinchurchin and Alolan Raichu together. 12. So, yeah. What, for me, would fix this team instantly, trade away Pinchurchin and Alolan Raichu, get Gothtel. It has competitive as one of its hidden abilities. Shadow Tag will be bloody annoying to come up against.
Especially with Iron Boulder. You can't protect or swap out.
Exactly. And yeah, when you're coming up against a team like Ted's, you use competitive when you're not that worried about the intimidate. You run Shadow Tag. It's a fake out mon as well. It's bulky. It's annoying. It can put out a surprising amount of damage. Yeah,
I like that as a trade.
but where are we going to rank this?
I'm
finding it hard to rank.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really difficult to place again because there's.
I like these 4. I like these 2, and I like the Spiritomb. I should hate it after you beat me with it, season 1, but I do like it. It's a really great support mon. It's one of the best trick room setters in the game.
Well, yeah, and as we proved in that match, if you don't respect it, it can really screw your team up.
Well, it's part dark type, so it's immune to prankster taunt. It's a part ghost type, so it's immune to fake out. You know, it's
only got one weakness.
Yeah, it's just a bloody good mon.
Yeah, I really like Spiritomb.
I still think it's C tier, personally.
Okay, we're not too far off. I was gonna say it could range anywhere from just a straight up C to maybe a B minus, somewhere along there. But I don't think it's better than our other C team.
Agreed. I don't think it's better than Ted's team
C as well. I was going to say it's, for me, I would say it's better than Ted's team, but I'm happy to concede that it would be just below.
It's got better synergy than Ted's team, but I don't think the pieces are as strong as Ted's team.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I'm not like strongly on it being better than Ted's, so I'm happy to concede that one. But I do think it's a C currently where it's at. I like the synergies, but as we've been over, there's just a few holes that are quite glaring holes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that's what brings it down below Ted's team.
Yeah. No, I think I've come around and agree with you on that one.
But now we're on to
the worst team
our teams. No, are we going to do which order are we going to do this in? Are we going to do my team first, or?
Yeah, we'll carry on in the order we're in if you want.
Yeah, so we do your team last because you tore your team up. You tore your team apart and rebuilt it from the ground up.
Yeah, we got to go through about 18 different versions of my team. So yeah, we'll start with yours.
We have the future champion Welsh Woobats, the best team in the league.
I think we'll let you take the reins on this one.
You want me to talk it over? You two don't want to tear my team apart first?
I'll do that after. I'll let you big it up first, and then I'll tear it down.
Okay. So, where to start? Let's start with a fairly obvious. Let's start with a fairly obvious. It's a Whimsicott team.
That already just gives you an advantage because Whimsicott is broken in draft.
Yeah, this entire team was built around Whimsicott.
Yeah.
You've got the obvious core of Whimsicott, Ape, Lucario. Lucario and Annihilate do benefit, obviously, from the bulk up, which, as much as people say, is easy to stop. People will find out very, very quickly. It's easier said than done. Yeah. I lucked into Ogerpon. That was originally supposed to be Mousehold.
Yep.
I'm still not sure if Ogerpon is better for that slot.
I personally say yes.
It's got more damage output, but it hasn't got the synergy with Annihilate that Mousehold has. For me,
that is true.
Mousehold being immune to ghost types moves, which is probably the biggest weakness Annihilate has, is amazing. But Ogerpon's got most of the same tools that Mousehold has, but with far more offensive presence.
That's why I like Ogerpon more, because you don't have to rely on the ape to use the Ogerpon.
Yeah.
Whereas you kind of do with the mouse.
Yeah. I think the unsung hero of this team, though, is going to be Delphox.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what you do with Delphox.
There's so many things Delphox can do.
Mm. Yeah, it gives a wide moveset.
There's
some good. I had a look at it last season.
I looked at it last season and decided against it because I was just struggling to put the type chart together with Delphox on it. So I went elsewhere. But let's just say a Specs Delphox Heatwave in the sun destroys stuff.
Yeah.
I actually think it was Delphox I switched out for God of War in the end last season. But yeah, Delphox is fast. It's got deceptively strong damage output, and its support toolkit is great. It gets Howl.
Yeah.
So
for me, the only downside to it is its abilities are a bit meh.
Magician.
I think outside of that,
watch out for Magician.
You're going to be doing some crazy stuff with Magician.
Magician, for anyone that doesn't know, will steal an item when it hits with a move. So I can use a citrus berry to heal back up,
and then just rob
an item from the opposition with it.
Yeah, we could see.
I could rob an item from my own teammate with it if I wanted to.
What's the threshold for when Blaze activates health wise? Is it that's the low health boost, isn't it?
33%, I believe.
Because I'm just thinking there's like other situations where you could just run like Sash on it and just activate Blaze.
Yeah.
And just do big damage there.
There is a few funny strats you can do with it. I did actually calc while I was prepping for our match, actually, how much damage I would do with a Clawitzer flip turn into a no bulk Delphox to proc Blaze and then hit a mystical fire.
Oh god. There's some funky stuff going on.
So you got like weakness policy, Blaze Delphox, flip turn Clawitzer into it.
All these like flip turns and beat up strats you got going. You'll be spending more time hitting your own mark than the opponent. It's gonna be a really weird season to watch.
I do think that's where a lot of people are gonna think my team is going. But to be honest with you, I think I'm probably going to chicken out of a lot of these funky strats and just run fairly standard hyper offense.
You slowly kill yourself.
But obviously, then you've got Sandy Chuck's Delphox with the gravity hypnosis madness. Amber Pom, I think a lot of people are going to sleep on.
Yeah, I think that was a very solid pickup. It's one of the faster fake outs.
Yeah, it's one of the faster fake outs.
Technician is of great ability.
So is Skill Link with some of the moves it gets.
And Skill Link, yeah.
Pickup's completely useless, obviously, but
what's the old moveset that used to be on Anthem? Was it Fake Out and Last Resort?
Yeah, Fake Out, Last Resort.
Yeah. That's a cool set. I like that.
Yeah, but it gets. Oh god, what's there's a multi-hit normal type move it gets as well that you can run with, with Skill Link.
I like that pick.
I calced up to do some like ridiculous damage.
The one thing I see straight away from looking at this team is that you have the Whimsicott with Prankster Fake Tears, and then you've got mons like Sandy Shocks, Delphox,
Clawitzer,
Hydreigon, Clawitzer, even Lucario that can all just sort of benefit from that.
Yeah.
And to me, that's actually, along with obviously the ape strats, that's like the scariest part of your team is just
Whimsicott.
If that Whimsicott starts clicking Fake Tears, things are just going to die so fast.
Whimsicott also gets a move called Tickle, which lowers defense by 1.
Yeah. So, is that defense and attack?
Yes, it's defense and attack. Yeah. So you can
literally so damn good.
Whimsicott also gets Helping Hand.
They should really buff it more.
I think half of my team has Helping Hand.
See, this is what I mean. You're just going to be clicking Helping Hands and punching yourself. It's just there's no point where you're actually clicking anything on the opponent.
No, it's going to be one mon on the field doing all of the damage while the rest of the team clicks helping hand or redirection. So yeah, that's that is the whole thing with this team. To be honest, is I wanted very fast supports, and I initially wanted the fast damage dealers as well, but I couldn't find, other than Walking Wake, which got sniped, I couldn't find the speedy damage dealers that synergized well with Whimsicott.
Yeah, I think Ted did the league a favor by not letting you get Wake.
Yeah,
because this team with Wake is like just.
Well,
I mean, it probably becomes the strongest team in the league with Wake.
You sub out Hydreigon and Ambipom for Wake and normal Raichu, and that's what this team would have been. Yeah,
it's pretty scary. Don't sleep on that Clawitzer either, man. That thing does damage.
Clawitzer is insane. I love the fact that
I faced it season 1. I think it was against Ted, possibly. Yeah, and that thing like swept through my team.
Mega Launcher is a ridiculous ability. It essentially means it stabs Dragon Pulse and Dark Pulse.
Yeah, and then you get specs and you just delete everything.
Yeah, and the fact that it is so slow as well means that I can put a tiny bit of speed investment in it, which will then, if I'm facing a Trick Room team, I put a tiny bit of speed into it. I can click Tailwind and it'll outspeed everything, or I can not click Tailwind and let it annihilate stuff in the opposition Trick Room.
Yeah,
and let's not forget the fact that Whimsicott. Let's not forget the fact that Whimsicott gets Trick Room as well.
Oh God, does it really? This mod just gets every move.
It's basically a better Smeargle.
Smeargle, yeah.
It gets every support move you could ever want.
Yeah, the Clawitzer as well. Like it's gonna one shot a lot of things, and the things it doesn't, you just click Fake Tears, and then it does.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, this is a scary team.
And Sandy Shocks, if you've got a bulky water type, I just click Fake Tears Thunderbolt. Sandy Shocks is going to outspeed whatever that bulky water type is. So is Whimsicott with the Fake Tears, thanks to Prankster. And that water type gets one shot. Then Delphox sends whatever non-resisting, grass type or whatever on the next to it to the Shadow Realm with a Mystical Fire.
Yeah, and I think the way the types have worked out is that your weaknesses are kind of not too relevant for the most part. Like ice doesn't matter because there's no ice types in the league. Similar thing with flying. There's not really many big hitting flying types.
The flying weakness I was worried about. The fighting weakness I'm still kind of worried about.
I think fighting and the slight lack of fairy resistances are the only two that stand out to me.
The fairy resistance I'm not overly worried about because Hydreigon gets Flash Cannon, and in Tailwind is going to be faster than most of the fairy types I'd be facing. And
you're not going to be facing too many fairies anyway.
No. And for the matchups where Hydreigon isn't going to be faster than those fairy types, Lucario's got Bullet Punch.
Yeah.
How many fairy types are going to live a justified boosted Bullet Punch?
Yeah, not many.
Yeah. It's the thing. There are some very obvious weaknesses. And
you've got good counters.
I am going to have to play very, very well to beat them. Because, Lucario Fairy is still neutral into Lucario. So, that turn it takes me to get the justified setup or whatever else set up to be able to click that super strong Bullet Punch. If my calcs are off in prep, then I lose the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the ground weakness I'm not overly worried about. Ogapon and Clawitzer cover those pretty well.
Yeah.
The flying weakness, like you said, there's not a lot of good flying types in the league, but Sandy Shocks can deal with those pretty well.
And Ogapon.
And Ogapon.
Especially once you Tera Ogapon, you resist flying then, and rock resist flying, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so you've got another resistance there anyway once you Tera, so it's not it's pretty balanced once you consider that.
Yeah.
And like the ground weakness, you have an immunity with Hydro, and your Whimsicott resists it. So and again, Ogapon does a lot of damage into ground types, same with Cloyet. So
yeah,
so you've got your counters there for any of the typings that you do struggle with, just on the type chart.
It's me not having a great deal of experience with those counters. I've never used Clawwitzer before. I've never used Hydreigon before. I've only used Whimsicott like once or twice on Showdown, but I just thought it was such a cool mon. I couldn't not draft it when I wanted a hyper offense team. I don't think this team.
I like the Hydreigon pick for you. I think that's a really solid late pickup.
When I started looking at it, I was initially not sold on it, but the more I looked at it and the more I looked into its moveset, especially after I saw Psyspam get drafted, I was like, I need a dragon type, I need a dark type, I need a water type. How do I get all those with 2 picks? Oh wait, Hydreigon's part dark type, and it's a dragon, and it's got levitate, and it hits like a fucking truck.
It's one of those mons that has the sort of HP and defensive stats that I really like, because you invest a bit into that bulk and suddenly you got a really tanky sweeper.
Yeah.
Those sort of 90s across the board are deceptive quite high.
And that's where it synergizes pretty well with Whimsicott, because in a Tailwind mirror, it's not going to be great because it is below base 100. So it is going to get outsped by a lot of mons this season.
Yeah.
Because there are some very, very fast teams. But into the more balance-oriented teams, Hydreigon is going to resist 90% of what they're going to throw at it. And I don't need to invest a great deal into speed. I can put it all into special attack and bulk. So it's going to be a nightmare for some of those teams. I didn't see that until after I drafted it. Yeah. So it was kind of a nice surprise. I drafted it purely on its typing and the fact that people say it was at one point a very, very strong Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Where are you putting my team?
Well, do you know what?
You actually said you were going to rip it to pieces, and you never did.
I know. This is the problem, though, that this season it's difficult to rip this team to pieces because I think it's one of the best teams in the league. So I'm struggling to sort of do that. For me, I'm thinking this is either a high A or low S tier.
Okay.
Just because, like I said,
I would have put it, but
on face value, you may not see all of the sort of synergies. Like there's some obvious ones like the Annihilate, of course, with the beat up. But the ones we spoke about, like the fake tier stuff, I think is extremely strong.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just think you've covered a lot of your types really well. And like we said, you can cover a lot of your weaknesses offensively instead of defensively.
Yeah, I suck at playing defensively, so the whole thing with this draft was I needed it to be the best form of defense is a good offense.
Yeah, and I think Annihilate is one of the best mons in draft. Full stop. To be honest, I think it's just so damn annoying to deal with, especially when you don't have a Flutter main on every team.
Yeah,
it's really difficult to stop Annihilate if you don't have something that can deal with it quickly. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between sort of a low S and high A. Just see if we rank the other teams. We have Twim in A.
Personally, I would put my team in A tier. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Otter's team or as Cal's team.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of kept me from just going straight away. Yeah, that's an S tier team. Is that when I then look at the other S tier teams, they are loaded with lots of scary stuff. I would say this is probably like top of the A tier then for me, because I'd put it ahead of like Wim's team, for example, which is in the A tier. I don't know how you feel about that. It's hard when it's your own team.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to be objective when I know all of the stuff that people haven't seen with my team.
That's the thing, yeah. There's so many bits that you just don't want to reveal.
Yeah, exactly. Same with our match week 1. I'm like, right, how do I beat Tommy without revealing all of the cool shit that I want to save for later in the season?
I mean, we didn't even get around to mentioning gravity hypnosis.
I did mention gravity hypnosis.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. I did.
Oh, to be fair, I probably did hear that. We've done a lot.
I actually think when I looked at it, because I was like, oh, I want Sandy Shocks. I love Sandy Shocks. I think it's the coolest looking Paradox Pokemon. Instantly, people go straight to Sandy Shocks, Ispathra. But for me, I think Sandy Shocks Delphox is probably a better combo for Gravity Hypnosis, because Delphox has got, for me at least, better coverage. It's got just better tools.
Well, they work together in the sun as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
those two in the sun together, I'm just forfeiting the match.
Yeah. Right, I'm bringing that week 1 then. I wasn't going to bring that, but now I am bringing that.
Maybe that's what I want you to do.
So
mind games have begun.
Before we go round and round and round again in circles, where are you putting it?
I'm happy with putting it in the A tier. I personally would put it high in the A tier.
Above Twim's team or below Twim's team?
I think above Twim's team.
Okay.
I'm more scared of this team than I am of Twim's, personally.
I would be as well, if I were you.
Twim's team, there's a lot more one-dimensional stuff, whereas this team just has so much that it can do.
Yeah. I'm still discovering stuff that this team can do in prep for you.
This is the sort of team I wanted to face like week 8 or 9 when I could have seen 8 or 9 matches played by it. Whereas playing it week 1, I'm like, what the hell is this team about to do to me?
I have the same feeling about your team. And then I saw the trades you made and I'm like, now I'm glad I'm not facing you later in the season. I would rather face your week 1 team than your week 2 onwards team. And speaking of which...
Shall we move on to mine?
Yes, we'll do a quick look at your week 1 team, and I think we should probably put more of the focus on what you've done with the trade scenes, as we've done that with the other teams as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have too much to say on this version of the team because obviously I haven't chosen to stick around with it for very long. There was a plan here, but it didn't kind of come together how I wanted it in the end. I was going for sort of a team that could play multiple weathers, with obviously the tornadoes that can just give you that weather. My fan favourite Palafin is just a machine whenever you get the rain up. I mean, without the rain as well. Gouging Fire, I had no intention of taking until you actually suggested it to me, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I had my sort of game plan of getting that Scream Tail and clicking Howl all the time. And then that got sniped from me, so I thought, well, what other mons are good at clicking Howl? And then I was watching a regional, and the first video that came on was a team with Gouging Fire just clicking Howl the whole. I thought, that'll work. But yeah, I'm excited to use Gouging Fire. I think it's going to be a really fun mon to have on the team.
I actually think it fits this team better than Screamtail. Even your team post trades, I think it fits better than Screamtail.
Yeah, especially with what I've added now, I think Gouging Fire makes this new version of my team very dangerous.
If I call it up a second.
This version of the team has some serious firepower now, I think.
It's hard because I like the Palafin version of your team. I personally didn't think you needed to rip it up as much as you did.
Yeah, when I told you I was going to do it, you were very quick to tell me no. So of course I then did it.
I think a lot of the criticisms that other people had about it weren't fully justified. Like, yes, you nerf one side of gouging fire by clicking Rain Dance on Torn, or you completely nerf Palafin by clicking Sunny Day on Torn. But I think you had other tools there that you didn't need to bring Palafin every week. No. You didn't need to run a fire move on gouging fire every week. I just think there were other bits and pieces you had here that other people in the league didn't see.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that as well. I think there was definitely some bits that were missed. I don't usually tend to like make big changes based off of like the rankings and stuff. That's not usually how I do my things. Obviously, I've usually the last 2 seasons I've made my trades like near the deadline. I tend to wait a while, but this season, the team that I did originally draft, I was sort of not 100% happy with it.
Yeah.
It just like the more I was looking into it, the more I was just thinking that there was certain bits that I wasn't liking the synergy between. And then obviously once I've seen some of the rankings as well, that sort of just confirmed my thoughts to be correct.
I think
and I really did want to get rid of Bishop for Ogerpon or King Gambit once I saw that trade was a possibility.
So I think the mistake you made with your initial team was one that I made last season, which was you had an idea in your head of what you wanted to draft. You started building that team, but then it went away from your play style.
Yeah, that was the problem.
You made essentially a team that I would love to use. You made a team that fit my play style, not really your play style. Whereas this version, using Dhelmise instead of Torn, you can go that hyper offense by clicking pranks to Tailwind, pranks to Sunny Day, and going fast and hitting hard. Or you can slow the game down and play with Gudra, Gouging Fire, Landorus, bulky, annoying Tommy style.
Yeah. This is the one of the main talking points I had for this team is that I know most people, when looking at my team, have said that the Gudra kind of stands out as a why is it on this team type of mon.
I like it as a defensive
I, however,
pivot.
think that it's really good on this team.
It's a very good defensive pivot on this team, I think.
Yeah, I think because this team can very easily just go like Gouging Fire and Ogerpon and start just dealing damage, or similar with like Landorus and Slitherwing. The fact that I have the option to instead just go for like a Gudra with screens or redirection and just be annoying, and we know that I can do pretty bulky, annoying sets as it is.
Or the fact that Gudra has got 100 attack and 110 special attack and doesn't have to be an iron defense body press mon.
No, I've already been doing just some general calcs with Gudra of the sort of damage output it can do.
Yeah,
it's pretty reasonable. Yeah, and the fact that the Ogerpons all got allowed kind of made me want Gudra even more, because Gudra can really shut down Ogerpons quite well.
Yeah,
similar thing with like Urshifu. Having shell armor for Urshifus and stuff is fun, and Sap Sippers is just a great ability to have. A grass immunity is really nice with 3 other Ogerpons to deal with.
Yeah, people talk about Tinglu being a really good defensive piece on Weens' team. That Gudra is your King Gambit. It just doesn't have the special attack reduction ability. It's instead a war.
Yeah, when you've got
certain
these
monsters
like,
can't hit.
Don't want to take hits too often. It's nice to be able to just swap in a Gudra and not have to worry about whatever they've just clicked into that slot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sort of mon that if you don't respect the Gudra, it will just be able to get through your team, whether it's setups and sweeps or just slowly chips away.
Yeah, I like it on this team.
It's so difficult to take off the field. And the other pick that I was really happy that I managed to get was Landorus. It's a mon that does ridiculous amounts of damage. I've never really used it, and I started using it recently on ladder, and I was shocked by the amount of things I was just one-shotting with earth powers.
Yeah. If it doesn't resist ground, it's probably dying to a sheer
Strong
force
with a
earth
life
power.
sheer force.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the one thing I noticed about this league in general is that almost every team has quite a glaring weakness to ground.
Yeah, that was a very sensible pickup.
So I was just looking through the mons and I was thinking probably like the best ground attacker is still there.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I may as well just take that then.
Yeah.
It made so many of my matchups a lot better now by having that option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even the flying option as well. I know it doesn't get the best flying type moves, but even if you go like Tera flying, Tera Blast.
You just got, exactly.
Like, there's a lot of flying weak teams as well, so.
Yeah, I'm for sure glad you don't have it versus me.
Yeah, it would have been quite nice. I am very happy with the trades I made overall. I'm excited to use like Ogerpon. I've never used the grass version outside of recently using it on ladder.
Yeah.
I really wanted a good Defiant mon that can really take advantage of gouging fire. Slitherwing I think was great value as well at 6 points. I think for the stats that it has, 6 points was very low. I know it's not the best typing, but I think outside of its typing, 135 attack can't really be ignored, especially when it gets a really dangerous
Yeah, I think Slitherwing, like you say, it doesn't have the best typing. But there's not a great deal out there that resists bug. It's neutral. It's a neutral typing into a lot of mons.
Yeah.
So, same with fighting. So having those two as an offensive
strong
coverage in draft, I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's along with your Sui Gudra, it is a very, very good Ogerpon counter.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, having first impression if there's an Ogerpon on the lead is very nice.
Yeah.
And it's also just good into a sun mode if I wanted to as well, because I've got the priority weather if I need it, and you've got gouging fire. Slitherwing can operate nicely in the sun.
Yeah.
Ogerpon can even do things because you can run what's the move called? Is it Solar Blade?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a fun little like tech that you can do if you want to have a move other than Ivy Cudgel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of there was a lot of synergy that I don't think many people saw in your original team, and I think there's even more synergy with this version.
And I think people are going to underestimate how good but in terms of like the move set that it gets, like it's basically a cheap Whimsicott.
Yeah,
in terms of
it is
the skill set that it gets. That it gets so many good moves. Like it gets the sort of like Prankster Charm. You got Encore.
Fake Tears.
You've got Fake Tears. it gets all the stuff that you kind of want it to get. It gets Helping Hand.
It is a mini Whimsicott.
I can't say I've got much experience with it, but I'm confident that it's the sort of mon that I can use quite effectively.
It does a lot of what you wanted Tornadus to do at half the price.
And that's why I went with it in the end, it gave me the chance to build better mons around my Tailwind setter.
Yeah, and because it's not as expensive as Torn, you're not going to feel like you have to bring it every match. Or you're wasting it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Torn to sort of always be there because it's hogging 14 points.
Yeah. I mean, I loved Tornadus in season 1, but Tornadus Dark Urshifu.
Yeah.
So you do have that immediate offense, whereas you with Tornadus Palafin, you've got to take that turn to switch Palafin out to bring in something else, and it almost feels like you're wasting a turn of Torn's field time doing that.
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons I decided not to do another season with Palafin. Is as much as I love using Palafin, it's pretty much my favourite mon to use in VGC. It does sometimes get a bit tiresome having to sort of figure out how you're going to pivot it in and out of games. So I'm kind of relieved in a way that this season I can sort of just lead with 2 mons and not think, well, I better quickly swap Palafin out.
Yeah, and like I said at the end of last season, all Palafin did for you last season was unlock Baxcalibur.
Yeah, it just stayed on the field, didn't die, and let Baxcalibur clean up the rest of the team.
You know, you essentially did your turnaround last season just by having Palafin there. It didn't really do a great deal for you.
No, that's the thing. Just its presence alone was kind of all I needed it for in the end.
It was your comfort blanket.
and in all honesty, in the end, it lost me my season. That may have been slightly down to me, but I'm going to blame the Dolphin.
Blame Palafin.
Yeah,
absolutely
100%.
blame Palafin.
My last sort of point on this team really is that I was very happy with the sort of lower value mons that I picked up. The Furret, the Espeon, Toxicroak. Furret actually has a very good move pool for support.
Yes, it does.
Like Super Fang is great. Having Frisk as an ability is brilliant for bringing through information. Obviously, you've got Redirection with Follow Me. It can just sit there pressing Helping Hand as well. It's surprisingly quite versatile for what it is.
In a lot of ways, it is a mini Mousehold.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much it, yeah.
A lot of the stuff that Mousehold does in standard VGC, Furret can do as well, just without the stats.
Yeah.
And without Friend Guard.
Yeah,
I like Furret a lot. It was on my draft board as well as my Redirection mon.
Yeah, I like the fact that I've got double Redirection this season. It doesn't mean that I have to bring, Ogerpon if I only had Ogerpon, or Furret if I only had Furret.
Yeah.
Can bring whichever one's better in the matchup.
And you can run Ogerpon offensively.
Yeah, it kind of takes the pressure off the Ogerpon to have the Follow Me when there's so many good moves that you want to put on it.
Yeah, you can lead Furret Ogerpon, Swords Dance with the Ogerpon.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. It can help.
Yeah, and then like the Toxicroak I thought was quite a good fake out pickup.
I love Toxicroak.
It's one of my favourite mons, like design wise as well.
Same.
So I kind of wanted it, and it's one of my favourite shinies. So I was like, this is sort of a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I like its typing in terms of offense as well. I like having Poison. I think Poison could be quite an underrated offensive typing to have.
I loved it in season 1. It was probably my MVP season 1.
The
only mistake
and its ability is great as well, man.
Yeah,
having a water immunity is great.
Yeah, it hits surprisingly hard. It can,
especially when I can howl.
Yeah, and it can be made to run really quickly as well, especially with you having Tailwind.
Yeah, I haven't sort of looked at the matchups or anything really with like how much damage it'll do into a lot of the, but I have had like a brief look at just how much damage Toxicroak does with one howl plus a choice band into just like a lot of the meta mons. It does a lot of damage.
Yeah, you can one shot a lot with it.
Yeah, you really can't ignore it, especially because it gets priority sucker punch as well. You can you could really turn it into a scary mon if it's left ignored for a turn or two.
Yeah,
I think that's a story with a lot of the mons on this team. If then a lot of them aren't necessarily the flashiest picks, but I think if you leave too many of these mons unchecked,
and that's the thing.
My damage output is surprisingly high here.
I think that is, you just hit the nail on the head with this team. Actually, it is a lot of very underrated picks that, if you leave them unchecked, will sweep you.
Yeah, 100%. Even the I know we've been talking about it for a while, but the Espeon is surprisingly good damage. 130 special attack is
Yes.
close to a Fluttermane.
And combine that
And
with
it's
110
fast.
speed.
Yeah.
My
That's the thing. I like it because it can be support or it can just do damage.
my issue with Espeon is it's very frail, certainly on the physical side. And I don't feel like it's got the best coverage to take advantage of that 130
its coverage
special
is
attack.
slightly limited.
To me, it's the worst mon on your team.
Yeah, it's more here for a support role. It's kind of, I've got a few ideas for it, but for what I kind of needed for the gap that needed filling on my team, it was kind of a perfect fit for me. There's a few ideas I've got that I'm obviously not going to share, but yeah, I'll say that I'm excited to have Espeon on the team. I think there's going to be a few matchups where it's going to excel.
I am very interested to see what you do with it.
I'll find some crazy stuff anyway.
Yeah. But
so where would you like to open the talks with rankings for this team?
So for me, the main issue I have with this version of your team is I like it, but for me it's a very balanced team. It's going to require a lot of switching around or setup.
Yeah.
It's not as bad on the setup side as the pre-trade team.
Yeah, that was something that I was trying to fix a little bit.
Yeah, but outside of Landorus, and depending on how you build it, Ogerpon, I don't see where the immediate offense is coming from still.
Okay.
But that's pretty much the only... I mean, obviously you've got Slitherwing has got the 135 special attack, but as we've mentioned, its typing isn't great, so you're not going to bring it to every match.
Yeah, that's the main downside to Slitherwing, really, is just the situational use of it.
Yeah, which leaves the turn one threats as Landorus or an offensively built Ogerpon. But outside of that, I love this team. It is very much a you team.
Yeah, that was when we were planning our drafts and bouncing ideas. We were both trying to go more towards our play styles this season because we tended to draft more just towards what works in normal meta VGC.
Yeah, or a
whereas
fun
now we've
strategy.
kind of gone, or a fun strat. Yeah, whereas now we've both kind of gone for teams that work with our play styles.
Yeah, because like the Espeon, I don't like its coverage, but the special attack and speed are so high that you could, and you know, its special defense at 95 isn't bad, so you can bulk it out with the HP and defense.
Yeah,
and you've got a really bulky, annoying psychic type on the field.
And I absolutely love investing all of my EVs into defense.
Exactly. You know, Toxicroak, if you're going to build it for, you know, a fake out pivot mon, you know, it's got decent typing. Its defenses are pretty low, but 83 HP is not bad. You know, it's got more HP than Hisui and Gudra has. So you can dump EVs into its speed and defenses, and you've got a bulky, annoying Pokemon that with Poison Touch and Poison Jab can start spreading poison all over the place.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of very Tommy strats, and you know, EV and you know, stat spreads in this team, and that's what I like about it. It doesn't. I look at it, I'm like, how the fuck do you use this? I put my Tommy hat on, I start looking at the stats and go, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is annoying.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a lot of mons here that are a lot bulkier than you kind of realise they are until you look at their overall defensive spreads.
You look at them with a typical VGC head on, and you're like, oh well, Slitherwing's typing's terrible. It's kind of frail. You look at it then in terms of a draft where you're not facing Fluttermane every week. You're not facing Chi Yu every week.
And it's got a 105 special defense. That's like nothing to laugh at. That will wall a lot of things.
Yeah, you know. And
similar with like Gouging Fire. Gouging Fire's casually just got 121 defense.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to be taking that thing out unless you hit it with a super effective, powerful attack.
Yeah. So, for me, if I take Tommy Brain out of it, this team's probably high B, low A.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much agreeing with you on that, because I don't think my team's on this level of like yours or who has to be put in the sort of higher A. Like, I think Twims is probably still a little bit better than mine, just because it has that immediate threat.
I'm probably more scared of your team than Twims, simply because I know how you play it.
Yeah.
And I know how annoying and difficult it will be to play. Twims is, yes, it's got the more immediate damage output, but it's also kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah,
it's difficult to stop one-dimensional.
Difficult to prep for, really, I think, because there's a lot of things I could do.
And actually, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm thinking this is an A-tier team. Simply because, it does a lot more things than the teams in the B tier.
Yeah.
On paper, if you just look at it mon to mon, BreloomBoi's team's probably better. But when you start looking in at the little synergies that are there, the little things your team can do.
Yeah.
You know, Ilumise is a far better weather setter, in my opinion, than Klefki.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Certainly from an offensive standpoint, because
you got the tailwind, and
you've got the tailwind, you've got your weather. It can then help helping hand. Klefki gets helping hand, but it's got the fake tears. So you can click Sunny Day, proc your photosynthesis on Slitherwing, or click helping hand and Slitherwing go burr.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want immediate damage from the start. You put Sunny Day and Slitherwing on the lead.
Yeah,
that's a lot of immediate damage.
Yeah.
That's
photosynthesis boosted. First impression.
Yeah, or even like a close combat coming out with stab. You're going to struggle to live that.
Yeah, you do tailwind, fake tears next to Landorus. That's a lot.
If something gets fake tears and then hit by Landorus, you're dead whether you resist it or not.
That's a lot scary. And that's whimsical walking weight levels of terrifying.
Yeah. That's the thing with mons like Ilumise, is until you actually look at their toolkit, they don't seem that threatening. Yeah.
I'd certainly take
but they are.
Ilumise over Klefki as my weather setter. That's my enabler for my team. It's not Tornadus levels of good, but it's certainly
it does exactly what I need it to do.
Yeah. And
which is more than enough.
Those synergies is why I'll put it there.
I'll take low A. I'm happy with that.
I think it's neck and neck with Twim's team. I think your team has a lot more synergy, but if I take the Kingdra out, which is the mon I really freaking hated on Twim's team, I think this Twim's team is just ever so slightly better.
Mostly because I think I agree with you.
Mostly because of Psy Spam.
Yeah. Yeah, literally seeing Psy Spam is just like, okay, well, that wins.
Do you think there's synergies that with your team that other people don't see? And I don't think a lot of other people have taken like your play style into account when looking at it. Even with your original team, I don't think people realize just how you can make those anti-synergies that they pointed out work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
You know, it's quite easy to have Palafin torn out on the field, switch Palafin into Gouging Fire because the same things that beat Palafin don't beat Gouging Fire.
Mm.
You know, even though they know you're probably going to switch that slot out, they have to guess what's coming in there. Is it going to be the Gouging Fire? Is it going to be, you know, Gudra?
Yeah.
What's going to come into that slot? And then, you know, the following turn, you can click Howl, bring Palafin back out.
Yeah.
It gets the Howl boost on the switch. You know,
I'm just really excited to show off a Howl Slitherwing and how much damage Slitherwing can do once it's been given an attack boost.
Fucking hell.
Like 135 attack is ridiculous. Like people don't realise how much damage a Slitherwing can do. Plus, I don't really care about the synergies too much anyway, because can anything live a land or a earth power? No.
Not really. What do we think about this team then?
Well, I'll let you start with this because you had quite an input on.
Yeah, I did.
This team, didn't you?
I did. Cal really, really wanted the rain. Personally, I don't like rain teams, but
I'm quite a big fan of rain. Well, Palafin.
yeah, my problem with rain teams is all the best rain abusers are physical, which means they get rain teams without Kyogre get completely shut down by Intimidate.
True.
So there's only like 2, maybe 3. No, there is only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. Special attacking Swift Swim users. Kingdra and female Basculegion.
Yeah.
So for me, whenever I've tried to run rain, I just go for a strong water special attacker. That can also benefit from the tailwind. So one thing I should have suggested to Chal as his rain abuser is Clawitzer. I wish I'd seen that mon the way I see it really now.
Yeah.
Before we settled on the draft, because I think on this team,
that thing got silly damage without rain, didn't it? So.
Exactly. You know, you imagine Mega Launcher, fucking Water Pulse in the rain. That's going to go insane.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I guess he has the Regieleki as sort of I know it's not a water type, but it's still like a bit of a rain abuser because you can do thunder.
Yeah, it's and that's one of the things I picked up on straight away when he was looking at. He wanted Hisui and Electrode, so
yeah,
I went and looked for something that had all of the tools that Electrode Hisui had, but far more damage output. And Regieleki is just stupid good in draft.
Yeah, I really like that pickup. I think I don't think he used it week 1, but I think we're going to see a lot of it throughout the season. Just being stupid fast and just OKOing things with thunder.
You can go stupid fast and OKO things with thunder. If you don't want to bring the rain, you can make a physical set with Tera normal E speed. You can run it as a Sash support set with dual screens. It's got speed control and electro webs if you want to just make it really bulky and obnoxious to deal with. Yeah, you can go Choice Band, Tera normal, Explosion. It's got so many tools.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a really, really strong mon on this team.
Yeah, I think it's probably my favourite pick on his team.
I like the PZ, actually.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that pick, even though we were helping him obviously build. I didn't really expect him to pick that up. I don't know much about it. I obviously know a bit about Porygon 2, but I've never really used Porygon Z.
Take away all of Porygon 2's bulk
and put it into special
attack. It is.
I guess it's got quite a good move pool as well.
It's got basically the same move pool as P2.
Okay.
I like it with adaptability because all of those normal type moves, like Tera Blast, for example, with adaptability gets a boost before Tera as a normal type move, and then gets a boost with Tera.
Yeah,
that's whatever you Terra'd it into.
Yeah, that's so much damage output.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean,
it's a shame it doesn't get a Hydro Pump because that would be really good on his rain team.
Yeah, it's adaptability on dual type in Mons is better because you get 2 times stab boost. Like on Basculegion, for example, you'll get 2 times stab boost on Wave Crash and on Last Respects, which is why that's so ridiculously strong as a rain sweeper.
Yeah.
But,
well, and with adaptability and that special attack, you can put a lot of the EVs then into some bulk. So you're not going to be frail by any means because it's not terrible bulk off the bat.
Definitely not. My problem with download is it's not consistent because you can't predict what boost you're going to get because you don't know how.
Yeah, it could be really good or it could just be completely useless.
Yeah, I was watching a couple of the EUIC games where people were running P2 with download, and the amount of times they were getting the attack boost instead of the special attack boost.
I was watching those games as well. It feels like 90% of the time you get the attack boost, and then 10% of the time you get the other stuff. Yeah,
it's just not consistent enough. At least with adaptability, you've got that predictable, consistent damage.
Definitely.
You know, if you're running choice specs on it or something like that as well. You know,
it's silly
damage. The coverage you put on it. You know, you're essentially getting a stab boost on those coverage moves anyway.
Yeah,
from the specs. So, and it also gets Thunder as a. If you want to run Regieleki as your support mon, you can put Thunder on Porygon Z.
Yeah.
You know, choice specs Thunder and the rain from that is just going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think he's rounded out his rain core quite well with the Overquill as well and the Dreadnought.
Yeah, I like the Dreadnought pick actually. I
was looking at it season 1 because obviously I had Pelipper at the start.
Yeah.
And I did nearly pick up Dreadnought. So I do think it's quite a good value pick because it's quite low on points.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't when he was quite insistent on picking up a Swift Swim user. He had it last season and didn't use it very well at all. So I looked at it and I was like, okay, you had Dreadnought last season, take Dreadnought this season. The 3 abilities it's got are all very useful.
Yeah.
So, you know, Shell
especially
Armor.
Swift Swim and Strong Jaw, you can run either of those pretty much every week.
Yeah, and you can run it with Shell Armor as a defensive pivot. And, you know, not have to worry about crits, and it's bulky. It gets Stab Rock Slide. I say it's bulky. It can be made bulky. It's not naturally that bulky. 90 HP, 90 defense isn't too bad.
You could run an Assault Vest on it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially with Swift Swim, you could just run Swift Swim Assault Vest and just be fast, bulky, and do pretty decent damage.
Yeah, 74 speed. It's one of the better speed tiers for Swift Swim as well. That's one of the few things I did like about Kingdra was the fact that it's actually fast with Swift Swim. Most Swift Swim users are bloody slow, and it's really annoying because you still need Tailwind with them.
Well, yeah, both his Swift Swimmers. The Overquill is 85 speed as well. So he's...
Oh, yeah, I like the Overquill. as a Swift Swim user, I think Overquill is the better one of the two.
Yeah, I really like Overquill.
Yeah, it's one of the few Swift Swimmers that isn't a water type, so you can quite happily have it on the field with Pelipper at the same time.
Overquill's very good for the choice band explosion stuff as well, self-destruct, because I remember using that the first game of the draft league when I played Fluffer season 1.
Yeah, I remember that.
I did the Tera Ghost and then just deleted everything.
Yeah, Tera Ghost choice band explosion.
Yeah, so I do like that he's picked that up with Pelipper, same combo I had in that first season. I think his Raincore here is actually really, really strong with the Regilecki, the Pelipper, the Quill, the Dreadnought. You've got enough type differences there as well. It's not just all water types.
Yeah, and then you throw Monkey Dory in there as a support.
Yeah, and he's got the Monkey Dory, you know, they've got the Garchomp. Gardevoir's really nice as well next to Garchomp and Regilecki for the telepathy.
Yeah,
I think that's a very nice bit of synergy there.
Garchomp rain doesn't really help it.
That's a similar thing sort of with the issue I had with the Skeledirge. I know it's good coverage, but I feel like he's going to struggle to bring it into a lot of matchups because a lot of the time he's going to be setting up the rain.
It depends how he goes about it. I like Skeledirge.
I know he liked it last season though, so I get why he's brought it back.
Yeah. And you don't want to be bringing the rain every match.
No.
Even though Pelipper is quite an expensive mon.
And
you could run just a full, just bulky support. Run it as a ghost type. No fire move. Just put it on there, you know, unaware with Yawn, Ghost Shadow Ball.
I was more worried about it because of that ground weakness, because it was getting quite serious with the ground weaknesses.
Yeah, But
he has made a trade, I believe, hasn't he? Did he get rid of?
He got rid of Reveroom and brought in Decidueye, which really helps. I like the Decidueye pickup as well.
Yeah, that's a nice pickup.
Decidueye synergizes really well with the Raincore. Yeah, Grass Ghost. It gets Tailwind, so you don't have to run Tailwind on Pelipper every week.
Yeah, swapping a ×4 weakness for a resist is always helpful.
And 1 point cheaper as well. Decidueye is an underrated mon. I like the Decidueye pick.
Yeah, I do.
As soon as he mentioned it in Discord, I was like, yeah, actually, I really like that. A decent attacker. It's got some good support tools. Synergizes with the rain.
Yeah, it's good value points-wise as well.
Yeah.
There wasn't much he could get in that sort of tier that would have benefited his team any more than that.
No.
And his team kind of needed a grass type. It was kind of lacking a decent grass type.
Now you've mentioned it, I'm looking at that Skeledirge and I'm just like, can we get something that isn't a fire type in there?
That's the thing, because he's got the ghost coverage anyway with the Decidueye.
Yeah, now he's got the ghost. Yeah,
I'm not necessarily seeing where Skeledirge just fits on this team in particular, because this team feels quite a go fast in the rain team. Whereas the Skeledirge is kind of a bulky, sit there and be annoying thing.
Yeah,
and it doesn't like rain.
No, I do think
it's probably the only mon left on his team that I kind of think doesn't synergize, because everything else kind of works.
Yeah, one of the mons I did suggest early on was Rotom Heat, because of Levitate.
Yeah, that's not a bad show.
And again, it's still a bulky support fire type.
And you can even bring it in the rain, because it can still use thunder.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure he can find a use for the Skeledirge.
Skeledirge isn't useless. It doesn't synergize a great deal with this, but if you do want to slow the game down a little bit, it's a decent mon to have in your back pocket. I just think, like you, I think for the points, I think you could get better synergy there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Monkey Dory.
Yeah.
Because obviously last season it was like one of the MVPs of the
whole
thing.
It really was. In fact,
and I was quite surprised
MVP,
at that.
I believe.
Oh, did it actually win in the end? I
think
can't
so,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that because going into season 2, I thought it was kind of trash.
In normal
Then
VGC, it
shocked me.
really is trash. It doesn't really do a lot, but for draft, it's got so many tools. So many
Yeah, and the
tools.
fact that it's just does so much damage and is quite fast and has fake out, it's like if you see it on the lead, you've got to be worried about the fake out, but then if he doesn't fake out and just goes for damage, it just catches you off guard most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's like a bit of a mind game on the lead, and it's quite a stressful mon to have to prep for.
It really is.
And Frisk is really nice as well. It's quite an underrated second ability to have.
Yeah. It's
just to know what those items are.
Yeah, Frisk is so good in draft.
I think it's good on a mon like this as well that you're happy to have on the lead.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sort of forcing it out there just to find out the items. It's like you want this mon on your lead anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, it's got the fake out. It's got really good damage output. It's got things like taunt. It's got parting shot. It gets
it gets parting shot as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets clear smog as well to mess up any setup. Was one of the things that that Chal wanted was something with fake out parting shot. That's why he wanted Reveroom so badly.
Yeah.
But Reveroom is such a bad Pokemon.
Yeah.
That is the only problem with the Monkey Dory on this team, is the shared typing with Overquill.
Well, in terms of his sort of type chart, apart from the ground weakness, which he's kind of patched up a little bit with the trade that we mentioned.
Yeah, because he's lost his.
I wouldn't say he's got any other glaring weaknesses.
No,
like outside of ground, because like his other two that are in the red are dark, but he has 2 weaknesses and 1 resistance, so it's not like a glaring issue.
At the
and
moment,
Ghosty has an immunity.
Yeah, and God of War hits those dark types really hard.
So
yeah.
I suppose he is adding another ghost weakness now with Decidueye, but he still has the resistance and Porygon's immune, so
yeah.
I feel like Porygon's more than enough to sort of counter that, and there's not that many ghost types to worry about.
No.
I don't really think Spectria got drafted.
No.
So outside of your ape, there's not much I can think of.
No, I can't think of anything.
But they got to deal with Overquill.
Yeah, they've got to deal with
Overquill. Can just be fast and just click crunch.
Yeah, they've got to deal with the Overquill. Porygon Z switching in can completely mess that up.
No, I think, outside of that, his type balancing's been pretty good.
Yeah,
this season. I think he's covered most of his weaknesses.
I think Chal had a really, really good idea with this team. He had a pretty clear vision where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
With a little bit of nudging in the right direction, he's put together a pretty scary team, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The last point I have is the speed tiers as well. He's kind of covered like every speed tier that he needs.
He really has,
like he's got the slow mode, he's got the mid tiers, and then he's just got like the stupid fast.
Yeah.
So it feels like whether he's playing, Trick Room or against Tailwind, no matter what he's up against, he can probably control the speed.
That's going to be very difficult to prep for, actually.
Yeah, it feels like his mons could be going first like 90% of the season.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really difficult to stop that happening.
Yeah.
Especially when it doesn't care about taunt, because you can just Regieleki Electro Web, and good luck having taunt then.
Yeah. I have not noticed that. That's difficult. A really good shout.
And even if you go Trick Room, his Pelipper's still going to be pretty slow, and Skeledirge is there, and Dreadnought's not the fastest if it's not in rain.
Yeah. Gardevoir's not exactly speedy. So
yeah, and even if you click Tailwind, his Regieleki could probably still outspeed most of your stuff and just click Electro Web, and then you're not fast anymore.
That's what I love about Regieleki, to be honest with you. Just
ignores Tailwind.
Yeah, it just completely invalidates Tailwind.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how fast the other team is. If you have a Choice Scarf Regieleki with Electro Web, you're going first.
You don't even need that, because you think most Tailwind teams, the reason you click Tailwind is to enable those middling speed tiers to go fast. If you've got a max speed timid Regieleki, It doesn't matter what is on the other side of the field.
No.
Regieleki's going to be the fastest thing.
Yeah.
And even if it isn't, you sash it, it takes a hit, clicks electro webs. Because it's highly unlikely that both things on the other side of the field are faster than it. And then it just clicks electro webs. It's a really
good mod.
It is.
Kind of wish I drafted it now that I've been talking about it for The more I'm talking about it, the more I realise how good it is.
It's a really, really good mon, and I think it can be an absolute menace in draft.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the rest of his team, you kind of know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You've got a pretty good idea what Garchomp's going to do, what Porygon Z's going to do. Gardevoir a little bit less so, because it does get access to so many different moves. But you can usually look at the 6 that's on the team sheet and go, yeah, that's what he's going to be. That's what he's going to be doing with Gardy. Regieleki, you've got no clue.
Yeah, it could be support. It could be just Thunder, Choice Specs.
Yeah, Choice Specs, Thunder. Even Choice Specs Electro Webs is going to freaking hit hard.
And the thing is, even if you think you're about to KO it, it can just fast Volt Switch out and then pivot into something defensive. And
Yep.
Like bringing the Garchomp with rough skin, rocky helmet, and just bully you. Yeah, I genuinely think he probably has the best sort of speed tiered team in the league.
Yeah, I
honestly
think he's got the best rain team.
Balance of it. Yeah, definitely, 100%. So where do we rank it is the question.
Well, if we're saying it's the best rain team in the league, it's got to go above BreloomBoi's team.
And I believe Breloom was a B, high B?
Yeah, we said high B for Breloom because of, even though the rain setter isn't great, the rest of the mons on there are very good, and he does have that immediate damage output.
Yeah.
But I think with Regieleki, Porygon Z, Garchomp, plus Monkey Dory as well, I think Chal's team's got that immediate damage output kind of matched.
Yeah, 100%. And it's actually a bit more spread out on his team. He's not reliant on like 2 mons like Breloom is.
He's not reliant on, like you say, he's not reliant on the 2 mons.
Yeah, I think there's got to be at least like a mid A, maybe high A. Like it's pretty damn good. There's just a lot of options here.
I'm not sure it's better than your team.
Where was mine? Right, I can't remember where we ranked.
We ranked yours as an A as well.
Okay.
We said yours was kind of neck and neck with Twim's team.
Right. Yeah. So maybe
I think I'd put
like just below mine and Twim's.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was going to say I'd put it up there with your 2 teams.
Yeah, I think it's very close to being on the same sort of level.
Because yours is a little bit more reliant on the setup. But your team is a little less one-dimensional than Charles' team.
Yeah, mine's a bit more kind of just you don't necessarily know what my team's going to do, whereas this team you do, but it's whether you can stop it.
Yeah, because this team can't just go properly, just immediately in your face, clicking buttons. But
yeah, I'd be happy with like a sort of mid to low A.
Yeah,
similar to where we've ranked mine and Twim's.
I don't think it's quite as good as Twim's team, and
yeah, because even though Twim's team obviously has a rain mode, it's not really a rain team like this one. It's a Psy Spam team with a rain option.
Yeah, it's Psy Spam with defensive rain.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call it an actual rain team like Breloom's and Charles.
And yours, like we said, it's hard to know where you're going to go with your team. So the sort of misdirection you can pull off, I think, just gives you a few more options. Charles got.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think Mon for Mon, well, your team, I think, wins. Charles has got more synergies across the board, but I don't think Mon for Mon it's as strong as your team either.
Yeah, because I've got the Landarus and the Ogre-Pon and Gouging Fire. They're just kind of like just big hitting, hard to kind of stop, even though you know they're coming type of Pokemon.
It's kind of terrifying. I think probably all of these teams in the A tier are probably pretty close.
I do think your team could sneak into like a low S tier, but I think it is probably an A overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that we've done well with the A tier there. I think there's very good teams there that are just off of that sort of elite tier that we put Otter and whoever else it was in there.
Yeah, and I don't think these two teams in the C tier are that far behind these four in B either.
Well, the crazy thing is, from like the top tier to the bottom tier, that even like the top team to the lowest team, the difference is so minute still.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of these teams are just so damn strong.
Yeah, they are. They are very, very strong, and
it's pretty much just picking the worst of the best.
Yeah, these two, you can see just by looking at them that there's a plan there. We just can't see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you were to go like 10, 9, 8, 7, that would be, and there's no shame in being a 7 out of 10 team at all. If anything, these two are probably 7.5.
Yeah. That's why it's so tough to rank teams when it's something like this, because you feel like you shouldn't. None of these teams are really like a C tier team. It's just they're a C tier in comparison to how ridiculously good some of the other teams are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like because every team's so strong, you kind of like forced to put some of these strong teams lower. Yeah,
definitely.
It just shows like how much everyone's sort of, especially the people that have been in the league for a while now, like how far some people have come with how they draft.
Absolutely. You look at the way
the quality's changed.
Yeah, you look at the way BreloomBoi drafted his team this season versus the way he drafted his team in season 1. It's night and day. His team this season's so strong, even compared to last season's
he's a perfect
team.
example of just he's gone suddenly to having one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. You can't really compare Otter's teams because Otter's, other than last season, I hated Otter's team last season. But his season 1 team and his season 3 team are both really fucking strong.
Yeah. And even like our teams, like I looked back at our teams from season 1 and like the amount of weaknesses your team had in season 1 was unbelievable. Yeah. The whole bottom thing of the type chart was just red. It's like, how was this allowed?
I just went nuts with like super.
Now and it's like,
I just went nuts with super strong Pokemon. I just right. What's fun? What can I use that's really, really fun and it's going to hit stupid hard? Oh, I know. I'll draft Tornadus Urshifu. Oh crap! Now I've got hardly any points left.
Yeah,
it was actually also a tier draft season 1 as well, which was slightly different,
wasn't it?
So
yeah, I forgot that actually. Yeah,
it was fun, but it was very hard to draft a really good team season 1.
Yeah, you were a lot more sort of limited on what you could do.
And I didn't have a clue about VGC back then either.
Yeah, at that point it was just like no idea what I was even doing.
Yeah. I played a little bit on ladder, but I kept getting my ass kicked.
I pretty much didn't even have that. I just nuzlocked a lot.
Yeah. You had a better idea of type matchups than me.
Yeah, that's one good thing about nuzlocking is you do spend a lot of time having to deal with your Pokemon being weak to everything.
Yeah. I was so used to standard VGC that I'm like, oh, I can't draft that. That gets one shot by Fluttermane.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Get into the season, you're like, oh, wait. Only one team has Fluttermane.
Yeah. Yeah, I unfortunately did so much nuzlocking that I was too used to facing gym leaders with all one type, and I was a bit shocked when I came into Draft League and people had types that weren't all the same. Like, wait a minute. You meant to already have water type Pokemon.
But yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up, and I'm kind of happy with the tiering as well. Looking at it, I don't.
Interesting to compare ours to where the others are, because I know that there's obviously been a few tier lists made. Interesting just to see how different ours is compared to everyone else's.